Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 47 of the Drew Pavlis Show. Today may be a smaller show. I've been suspended from Twitter for 12 hours, which is so unfair, so unfortunate. Everybody knows that I've been unfairly treated. So unfair, so unfair. Please let me know if you're watching. I would really appreciate it. Give me a second. I'm gonna post it in the Discord server as well. We've got a beautiful 8 viewers. The beautiful 8 viewers. Everybody watching right now is a beautiful person. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. What a beautiful, such beautiful people. Such beautiful people. Because we're 1 week out from the 35th anniversary of Tiananmen, we're going to be watching a documentary tonight. The Gate of Heavenly Peace. The Gate of Heavenly Peace. And I'm somewhat friends with the director, whose name is Jeremy Barmay. The flak is always heaviest over the target. So, guys, what happened is it's so unfortunate, it's so unfair. Everybody understands it is unfair. I was suspended by Twitter for 12 hours because I laughed about Jeremy. What did I laugh about? I laughed about what's his name? What's the name of the bloke I was mocking? Glenn Greenwald. I was mocking Glenn Greenwald. And for that evil crime, I've been suspended by Twitter from Twitter by 12 hours. Do you understand how unfortunate that is, guys? Now, guys, I believe we've got 14 people watching on YouTube. I really need your help tonight, guys. I really need your help. The main reason I need your help is simple. I've been suspended from Twitter for 12 hours, so I can't use my Twitter to boost the stream tonight. I'll need your help to click like on the video. Please leave a like on the video. It's so important. And by leaving a like on the video, you will help me reach more people. So it's really important. I need all your help today. Hello, Easy Money. Thank you so much. Easy Money, please as well. If you can, please also share the video to Twitter. It would be really helpful as well. Superbase has become a member. Thank you so much, Superbase. That's so powerful. I believe I have 18 paying members now on my YouTube, which is an amazing thing. 18 paying members. 18 paying members on YouTube. I think I've got 31 on Substack, 29 on Patreon, and 33 on Twitter. So that is, I think, what's the number? I've got a sheet somewhere, but I now have almost 110 paying members, which is really good. Oh, we've got a super chat by Kalkin. Thank you so much, super chat. Thank you, Kalkin, for the super chat. I have to say thank you for that. And I salute you as well, Kalkin. You're one of my greatest super chat supporters. And I owe you a lot of support. Thank you so much. We've got 18 people watching live. Thank you, guys. If you're watching live, I would really appreciate if you can leave a like. I'm relying on you guys tonight. I can't use my Twitter to boost tonight's stream, which is very unfortunate. I'm going to need your help to leave likes on the video, and that way try help us in the algorithm. It's going to be really difficult. We're up against it tonight, guys. We're up against it. This might be one of my smaller streams. We're fighting hard. We're fighting hard, so I'm going to need your help. We've got 8 likes on the video. If you can leave a like, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. Every like helps YouTube recommend us to more people. So it's so important. And I want to say thank you so much to Superbase, who bought a membership. Salute to you, Superbase 4003. And salute to Kalkin1986, who sent me $10 and said, go buy some GYG. That is extremely powerful. Thank you so much for that. Steve Sane is so correct. He says, spank the like button. I encourage everybody who's watching to please smash that like button. Aaron, how are you going? iPhone Malat, how are you going? It's so unfortunate. It's so unfair. Reese Manley says, where is he? I'm here, mate. Smash that like button or not. Please leave a like, my friends. Please leave a like. I can't believe that I was banned for 12 hours from Twitter. It is so unfortunate, so unfair. Everybody knows that it's unfair. And really the main reason is because I was mean to Glenn Greenwald as though this is a criminal offense just to make fun of a guy. Because this guy posted the weirdo video to his own page, I simply posted a screenshot of it. And for that reason, 12 hours in the sin bin. It is so unfair, so unlucky. And as I said, guys, I'm really, really reliant on you tonight. I'm really reliant on the audience to please help me reach more people. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. This is the first time I'm streaming without any link to Twitter. And that's very difficult for us because Twitter is our main thing. So I will need your help, everybody. Calling all patriots. Streaming live. The daily live stream. And this is very powerful, guys. We are 47 episodes in. 47 episodes in. Would you believe it? 47 episodes in, 47 days, 47 episodes. And we've got 18 people on YouTube and 1 person watching on Twitch. I'm not sure why Kick is not working. I'll try enable Kick. But again, I've only got like 2 followers there. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll try enable Kick. And then I will put up... then I will try and put on the documentary. And we can watch it. And I'd encourage everybody to leave their thoughts as well. Oh, we are on Kick. We are on Kick. Beautiful. I'll put the... I'm going to put the Kick as well. Oh, beautiful. Steve Sane has become a member. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. You're a big help to the channel. I very much appreciate your support. Thank you so much, Steve, for that. You're a legend, mate. You've been one of the most consistent viewers. I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Imagine, guys, one day we'll get to 1,000 live viewers. And when that day happens, you can all remember we were here together at the start when no one believed in us. We were all here together. Nobody believed in us, but we got there. I believe that is now... I've now got 111 paying subscribers, 31 on Substack, 32 on Twitter, 29 on Patreon, and 19 on YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody who has signed up as a member. Really appreciate it. And great, we've now got 21 people. This is a better camera angle. Nice one, Drew. Thank you, mate. We've made we've made the area very beautiful. I've actually even got my nice lighting on. Bro will yap about Tiananmen, but not the flower massacre. I'm sorry that you're mentally ill. Hello, Lake Erie. Thank you for tuning in from America. Very much appreciate it. 19 people on YouTube now after I joined. Thank you so much. 70 million MAGA Marines en route. So true, Obsidian. If I get suspended by proxy, I will go outside. So true. Easy Money. I pinned the announcement in the community. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I hope more people will tune in. I was supposed to do a super chat, but because of my man flu, I cocked up. That's okay, Steve. Thank you for subscribing. We've got 19 paying subscribers. I'm really appreciative to everybody who subscribes to my YouTube channel. Every single one of you is very valued. Everyone is very valued. Now, let me... you a squirter or on the cream team? That's a disgusting comment. That's a very disgusting comment. Just you know what? I just thought we would play the latest PinkPantheress song for 2 minutes, but while we wait for maybe 1 or 2 more people to join, and then we can watch the documentary. I think this song goes actually very hard.
You're recommended to me by some people. Hey, ooh, is this illegal? Hey, ooh, it feels illegal. I've solved it quite a few times with paranoia. Oh,
goes hard. Hey. She's a great musician.
Hey, ooh, he's 24, yeah.
I see that we've got how many likes have we got on the video now, guys? We have 11 likes on the video. Thank you so much. If you're watching the video on YouTube, please leave a like. It's extremely important. YouTube will recommend us to more people, hopefully.
Hey, we're getting higher around the corner.
Feel sorry for this guy who's following her.
Then later on, we can talk on it instead. 2 into 1 while you're sitting on my bed. Then later on, I can feel shame in my head. We'll meet again when my head works like it used to.
A good song. Do you guys agree? I think it's a good song. I like PinkPantheress. I don't care if people say it's gay. I don't care. Oh, Drew, you're gay for listening to a girl song. Try say that to my face. I'll fucking bury you.
As long as you don't tell
I'd say she's cute.
your best mates. 1 after 1 while you're sitting on my bed.
I don't care if it's your song. I don't care if it's your song. Go hard. Hello, Daniel. Thanks for signing in, mate. I think it's a good song. Oh, Drew's not masculine because he likes PinkPantheress. Say that to my fucking face. I'll bury you 6 feet beneath the ground. I don't care.
My name's Pink and I'm really glad to meet you. You were recommended to me by some people.
Exactly. This is good. I think this is a good show.
To both of us. But tell me why my heartbeat is in a rush.
I think it goes hard.
Is this illegal? It feels illegal.
I would leave my GF for PinkPantheress. Would you? No, stay with the GF, my friend. Stay with the GF. I do think PinkPantheress is a beautiful creature.
Wow.
A beautiful woman. Beautiful person. I think she's gorgeous. I can't believe that. He says he's still on this. Good. Gotta say this to my girlfriend. Yeah, if she watches this, she probably thinks like, oh, it's good. Like my boyfriend is accepting his feminine side. That's probably what your girlfriend would say to you. So honestly, good on you for that. Okay, I think this is good now. I'm gonna play the documentary. What do you guys think? Very important documentary. So this was made by Jeremy Barmay. It's a very powerful documentary on the Tiananmen Square massacre. We're coming up to the 35th anniversary. Guys, I'm turning 26 next week on June the 4th. And it is actually it is going to be the 35th anniversary of Tiananmen Square massacre. 36, sorry, my bad. It's the 36th anniversary. And I am turning 26, believe it or not, I was actually born 10 years to the day of Tiananmen Square. And so that's why some of my Tibetan friends joked that maybe I was reincarnated from someone who was there. I think maybe that's true. It's an interesting thought. So I was born exactly 10 years to the day of the Tiananmen Square massacre. What a coincidence, right? So next week on June the 4th, we will be holding a memorial session at UQ. We do it every single year. We hold a memorial to the victims of Tiananmen. I might even live stream that memorial. Drew is Malcolm X's descendant. That's so true. Thank you for that. I agree with you. I actually agree with you. Remember, guys, leave a like. Remember to leave a like. So important. We've got 16 likes on the live stream. Thank you. Please leave a like. I was going through my Oppa's old cassettes and VHS tapes, and he had so many recordings on the news about Tiananmen. Wow, okay, true. Damn, Drew, show that video of Leavitt painting to the... what one are you talking about, Steve? I'm not sure which... I haven't heard of that. Leavitt, black officer. I'm not sure what the Leavitt thing is. Okay, hang on. I think I found it. I'll put it on for a minute, and then we'll watch the documentary.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America under President Donald Trump.
Is this it?
Caroline.
What is it? Caroline Leavitt. What do I type in? Black cop?
Hatred has
Is it that or... Oh, this one. Okay. Weird. So she's the press secretary. That's pretty strange. I don't know what she's doing there. That's fucking weird.
Why is the media not talking about this video of Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, beckoning somebody to come over to have the African-American police officer move away from her.
That is pretty strange. It's pretty strange to
Why
me.
is the media not talking about this? I'm seeing it on social media, but I'm not seeing it in the media.
It's pretty strange.
Who is Caroline Leavitt? Because it's different. A hardline MAGA platform, anti-CRT.
This is it. Hang on. Pretty sus. It is pretty sus. So she's standing next to a black police officer, and then she starts looking very like scared almost. She like glares at him, and then she like points to somebody in the crowd and is like please get him to move. Like, what the hell is going on there? That is genuinely really weird. He's a police officer. Yeah, what the hell? Honestly, strange. I have no idea what she's doing there. That is literally fucking strange to me. Weird. I don't know. The Trump team is just filled with so many weird people. Just very strange people. Or maybe he was in shot. Oh yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean that does make sense to me. I mean, I hope it is something normal like that instead of something fucking crazy. I don't know. Superbase says no way. I don't know. That is strange. White Christian. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't know why you would be acting like that when the guy's literally a police officer. That's fucking strange to me. By the way, guys, we got 16 likes on the video. Thank you so much. If you can leave a like, I would really appreciate it. Pickles LeBlanc. Hey, Drucifer, I'm writing an assignment critical of Trump. Am I getting myself banned from the country? Probably not. Probably not. Are you from Australia, Pickles LeBlanc? You're probably going to be fine. You're probably going to be fine. Surely, right? I mean, it'd be strange if they... we're in weird times, my friends. We're in weird times. Isn't it strange? Isn't it fucking strange? Like, you can't even tell whether you're going to be allowed into America as a tourist if you criticize Trump. I wonder what would happen if... You live in Iran, Pickles LeBlanc? Really? That's pretty strange. I mean, it's good that we got someone who's, from Iran and pro-democracy. That's cool. Good to know. Good to know, I guess. I wouldn't go there. If Pickles was from Australia, you could sue him for defamation. Should we watch him? Okay, let's watch the documentary. Hello, Daniel from Thailand says hello. Hello, Daniel. Thanks, man. I appreciate it when you tune in. It's really cool that we've got someone from Thailand tuning in. We've got a couple of people from America as well. Pickle says, I'm not from Iran. That was a joke. Okay, man. Solidarity with our Persian brothers and sisters. I'm from Australia. Pickles LeBlanc says he's from Australia. Good to know. Good to know. No, good bloke. We like Pickles LeBlanc. And iPhone Malat on Twitch is pretty funny as well. He's like literally like my one Twitch viewer. And I appreciate him. Good on him. I'm streaming on Kick too, and it gets like 0 views on Kick. I feel like most assignments in something like international relations would implicitly call Trump an idiot. I mean, there's basically no ability to justify what he does. Yeah, I was joking about that incident the other night with the glass. Yes. If I was from Iran, there's surely 0 chance I'd get into America, right? I don't know. I think the first administration, he basically tried to ban people from Iran from visiting America. It'd be pretty hard. Let's watch the documentary, guys. Let's watch the documentary. I think it's important that we watch it. We're very lucky as well because it's like a beautiful HD one. Oh, it's Josh. Josh is watching on Twitch. Thank you, man. Do you regularly watch on Twitch, Josh? Or are you mainly on YouTube? Hang on, I'm going to make myself smaller. Okay, that's good. Unless I'm defective. Guys, this is the best documentary on Tiananmen. The best one. Eric says, Italy will be taken over by Muslims in a few years. The government is destroying the culture. Dude, you've got like a conservative government in Italy. You think Meloni is like pro-mass migration? I don't know what this guy's talking about, to be honest. As a hypothetical reading distant. Okay, guys, we watch Gate of Heavenly Peace, okay? Let's watch it. It's a powerful documentary. I'm actually somewhat friends with Jeremy Barmaid, the guy who wrote this documentary. Think about it, guys. These were people our age that were massacred by the Chinese government. It's the last time the People's Liberation Army was basically used in anger against the Chinese people. Easy money. I go to college in America and our professors told us not to speak ill of Trump because they will be prosecuted if so. Seriously, easy money? That's scary. That's fucking scary. I hope that's not true, dude. Wait, is there violence in this? Not that much, I don't think, but
On the night of June 3rd, 1989, tanks and armored vehicles of the People's Liberation Army moved into Beijing and put an end to 7 weeks of peaceful protest.
After the shooting on the night of June 3rd, when I found out that so many people had died, I felt neither anger nor sorrow, nothing. I was completely numb.
That's not strictly true, Drew. In 1994, the PLA fought a naval battle with Vietnam. I mean, interesting, okay. They had bayonets on their AKs. I mean, they were brutal, man, the way they massacred these students.
A huge emptiness. I just couldn't believe they would open fire.
In the first few days after my son was killed, many friends, colleagues, and students came to express their sympathy. They all said that soon the official verdict would be overturned. But as investigations and arrests began, fewer and fewer people came to see me.
Isn't it just sick, guys? Like the way that tankies will literally deny that this happened. Sickos, psychopaths.
When people ran into me, they were silent. It was as though nothing had ever happened.
Events do not deliver their meanings to us. They are always interpreted. On the morning of June 5th, there was a moment that would come to symbolize the hope and the tragedy of those spring days. He disappeared into the crowd afterwards, and no one knows where he is now. No one is even certain of his name. But for the millions who saw this scene all over the world, its meaning was clear. Here was human hope and courage, challenging the remorseless machinery of state power.
Such a beautiful moment.
The Chinese government interpreted the scene just as simply, but differently.
稍有常识的人都会看出，如果我们的铁骑继续前进，这个螳臂挡车的歹徒难道能够阻挡得了吗？摄像机拍下的这个画面，同西方某些国家的宣传恰恰相反，正好说明了我们的军队保持了最大限度的克制。
In the days after the end of the protest at Tiananmen, large numbers of people were arrested all over China.
I heard the government's most wanted list on the radio. At first, it seemed only students were on the list. But I finally heard my own name. I couldn't stand the humiliation of being hunted down by the police. I wanted to maintain as much dignity as possible while facing the inevitable. So I decided to go to the police on my own. I told the police, I've come here because you've got your facts wrong. I don't know if it's deliberate or because you don't understand what really happened. Since I was involved, I feel it's my duty to straighten you out.
Pickles LeBlanc says that the 1988 battle between Vietnamese soldiers and the PLA, Vietnamese sailors and the PLA took place in 1988. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is still the last time that the PLA was used in anger, and it was used against the Chinese people. It was a sick moment.
When individuals stand up to power, they bring to the encounter the lessons that power has taught them and the harm it has done them. Merely to stand up does not free us from these things. Behind every gesture of hope and courage lies a life, a society, a history. Tiananmen, the gate of heavenly peace, is the gate leading into the imperial city, for centuries the center of power in China. In 1919, though the emperor had long been overthrown, Students gathered at Tiananmen to denounce the government's failure to stand up to foreign powers. Their protest spread quickly through the country and came to be known as the May 4th movement. Years of student demonstrations followed. Despite violent government repression, arrests, and killings, generation after generation, the students came out to protest, inspiring other Chinese to follow them. China was in danger, and corrupt officials didn't care. Young intellectuals felt they must place their lives on the line to awaken the people. They aimed to save the nation through democracy and modern science, and the discarding of oppressive traditions. When the great change did come, it came from the countryside, a peasant army led in part by people who had participated in the student protests. Mao Zedong's Communist Army entered Beijing in 1949. National power returned to the city and to Tiananmen. The traditional rulers of China had always remained hidden behind the gates of the imperial city. When Mao appeared before the people atop Tiananmen, he reversed centuries of symbolism. The center of power visibly shifted, from the imperial city behind the gate to the broad masses in front, all facing the leader who stood above.
在开国大典之前啊，天安门广场啊。
Before the founding ceremonies of the People's Republic of China in 1949, Tiananmen Square was full of weeds as high as your waist. Students from Beijing and Tsinghua universities volunteered to clear away all the weeds. Yes, it was students then too. At that time, young people were very enthusiastic about the People's Liberation Army and about the revolution. It was at Tiananmen that the People's Republic of China was founded. It was at Tiananmen that Mao announced, "The Chinese people have stood up."
Yeah, where is the trend? We need the trend here. For Drew commentary. I just will say it is a hard quote, even though I hate Mao and the Communist Party. I do think it's a hard quote, that quote where he said the Chinese people have finally stood up. I like the quote. And Malcolm Turnbull reversed it against the Chinese Communist Party. Malcolm Turnbull, when he put in place the Foreign Interference Transparency Register, he said the Australian people have stood up, and the Chinese government got so pissed off about that. They got so pissed off about it. Honestly, respect to Malcolm Turnbull for that quote. It's an amazing quote, right? How he said the Australian people have stood up when he put in place the Foreign Interference Transparency Register. People got so pissed off.
When I was a child, I went to Tiananmen twice a year for the parades. Mao stood on Tiananmen Gate.
What do you think of Mao, Drew? I don't think he's a good bloke, if you're wondering.
After the parade had passed, a huge crowd of children would rush up to the gate, shouting joyfully. No words, just the sound of children's voices. This created the desired effect. I was one of those children. I would wave flowers or release balloons or doves. Mao would wave his hand like this.
At that time, many communist leaders moved into quarters within the old imperial city.
Mao, the swimming champion.
Before, they had lived with the peasants, and it was said, fish cannot live out of water. But after the revolution, if a peasant went into the city to look up a leader he had known in the past, he wouldn't be able to find him. The water could no longer find the fish. The fish were inside the palace. And Mao himself became, in effect, the emperor, hailed as a man who would live forever. Of course, I was unable to see it like this in the 1950s.
In the 1950s, the government ordered the building of a great square in front of Tiananmen to accommodate the masses. Several of China's leaders first came to prominence as dedicated model workers in the building of the square. The gigantic square would become the largest public space in the world and the center of Chinese political
Is it the same Mao that swam in the Yangtze River? Yup. Mao Zedong, the swimmer.
life. On one side of it, a great hall of the people. On the other, a museum of history and the revolution. In the center of the square stood the monument commemorating the martyrs of the revolution, a tombstone of the great dead, which consecrates the square as sacred ground. The monument depicts scenes from China's history since 1840. There are no recognizable individuals. Collectively, they represent the people. Among the ancestors of New China pictured on the monument are the students of May 4th, 1919, protesting before the gate itself. When the students of 1989 occupied Tiananmen Square, they made their headquarters here, beneath images of other students.
Did they mention any of Mao's underage concubines? I don't think this. I think this is mainly focusing on Tiananmen. They're just giving a little bit of backstory.
Who changed China's history. They were consciously associating themselves with the tradition of student protest in China. By their own actions, they were adding further meaning to this place, the place in all of China most charged with meaning.
Good morning, beloved Peking.
Peking.
Good morning, beloved Tiananmen, gate of heavenly peace.
In Mao's era, Tiananmen became the symbol of the new China, the gate and the square.
Mr. F, I thought this didn't happen. Well, here's a 3-hour documentary. We'll discuss it.
The people, and the leader who expressed the people's will. Tiananmen had once led into the imperial palace. Now, it was the focus of Mao's square. Mao and Tiananmen were one.
That looks so fucking scary. Have a look at that. That looks so scary, seriously.
Tiananmen Square became completely entangled with the lives of the Chinese people.
Looks so fascist, these marches.
This was because under the Communist Party,
Blood red.
everyone's life became involved with politics.
Would you rather live in China or North Korea? I think China still. But it's going
When I
a bad
graduated from
direction.
university in 1966,
I think under Mao, the funny thing is that probably under Mao, maybe, I don't know, that's a good question. Under Mao, was China more tyrannical than North Korea at that same time period? That's a difficult one. Interesting. These days, I think, there's probably nothing that compares to North Korea in the entire world, but China has certainly moved in the same direction as North Korea, which is really scary.
I sincerely believed what I was taught, that I was a brand new boat to be used in the construction of the great mansion of communism. I was willing to be put wherever my country needed me, and I was prepared to stay in place my whole life. To me, Mao was like God. I believed that he was not only the great leader of the Chinese people, but also the great leader of people throughout the world. I feared the day when he would no longer be with us. I really hoped there'd be a scientific breakthrough that would enable young people like us to voluntarily give up a year of our lives to add a minute to his.
That's so
That way,
that like all the young people of China will give up a minute of their lives to add a year of their lives to add a minute to his.
the world would be saved.
It's spooky. The cult is so fucking spooky. Yeah, the cult is so fucking scary here, seriously. The fucking scary cult.
In 1976, Mao died between an earthquake and a solar eclipse, traditional portents of the end of an era. At the funeral, the great throng faced Tiananmen, but the place where Mao had stood was empty. All of the leaders remained on a platform below. Mao still resides in the square. The mausoleum, built in 1977 at the south end of the square, is not a tomb so much as a grand villa. It contains a huge marble armchair for the chairman,
Kind of
and a
like
bed
you
too.
say, no, it's fucking not. Have you read Jonathan Mirsky's article in Spectator magazine, Mao's Girl and Me? I haven't read that.
Where he lies.
He's still there.
I didn't shed
How
a single
mental is that?
tear when Mao died. I felt I'd been cheated. I've never visited the Mao Mausoleum. It's so disgusting.
Mao is
Isn't it mentally
dead,
still
but
there?
not gone. The great portrait that hangs on Tiananmen still presides over every parade and celebration held in the Great Square. During the student demonstrations of 1989, 3 men from Mao's own home province of Hunan splattered the great portrait with
Amazing.
ink. The students immediately distanced themselves from this act. They denounced the outrage and helped arrest the men responsible. Shortly after the desecration, gale-force winds blew.
Edward Lutwyck went to visit Mao in China in the 1990s to make sure he was still dead. I'd love to have Edward Lutwyck on the show. He's a smart guy. Who's the scariest person you've met, Drew? I'll have to think about that. That's a good question. Maybe one of the Nazis.
And torrents of rain fell on the square. With ink. The students immediately distanced themselves from this act. They denounced the outrage and helped arrest the men responsible. Shortly after the desecration, gale-force winds blew and torrents of rain fell on the square.
So spooky.
Some people actually wondered, was the chairman displeased? Within hours, the portrait...
So spooky. Somebody, a couple guys during the protests threw ink at the chairman's portrait, and then right after, there were gale force winds against the camp. That's spooky as hell.
Was replaced. But it is not only Mao's face. His vision of history, his language, his actions still loom large in China's imagination.
Communism is actually a promise of something perfect. It's easy for people who are dissatisfied with all the imperfections of real life to be attracted to it. During the 1930s and 40s, many people were drawn to the Communist Party because they wanted to escape the ugly reality, and they longed for the promise.
Throughout the first decade of the revolution, that promise had the support of large segments of society.
We've got 25 live viewers. Thank you, guys. Please leave a like on the video. We've got 19 likes on the video. If you can leave a like, YouTube will recommend us to more people.
Mao provided a vision of an ideal society, but he had little interest in the day-to-day work of bringing it about. That was left to his associates. Among them was Deng Xiaoping.
Deng Xiaoping. Drew, instances like that are what religions are made of. Randomness is one of the laws of nature. Smash the like button. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Mao had the personality of a romantic poet.
Wow. Isn't it amazing looking at Deng Xiaoping when he's young? I've really only seen photos of him when he's much older, so it's really interesting to see footage of him when he's young. Look at this.
That was left to his associates. Among them was Deng Xiaoping.
Wow, so interesting seeing him young.
Mao had the personality of a romantic poet. Deng's is that of a pragmatist.
Someone says Deng is just a chill guy. Well, dude, he's the guy who ordered the Tiananmen tanks in. He's the man who ordered the massacre. Deng studied in France. Yeah, I'm reading a biography of Deng Xiaoping right now, and I actually just got through the section where he was studying in France. He was very poor when he was studying in France, and he lived a very precarious life.
He's not a puritanical theoretician or an idealist. He's different from Mao in that he knows that when people are hungry, they need to eat.
Mistakes, we all make mistakes. Oh, dude, come on.
They can't live on poetry. During the 1950s, Mao launched wave after wave of persecutions against people who held different views. By 1959, no one dared express any dissenting opinions anymore. He had to have the last word on everything. And people would have tolerated it if his policies had worked out well. But he made a mess of things. Millions of people starved to death. So his comrades had to help patch things up. This meant a slight retreat from Mao's utopian illusions.
Deng liked to quote a Sichuan proverb: "It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white. If it catches mice, it's a good cat."
I love that quote. I unironically use that all the time. It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. Beautiful quote by Deng Xiaoping.
But Mao's solution,
see, I study from the communists in order so that we can one day defeat them.
When things went wrong, was always more revolution. not less. He saw anyone who stood between him and his masses as an enemy. He saw bureaucrats and lingering bourgeois elements undermining the original promise of the revolution. Against the government bureaucracy, Mao mobilized his masses. A fresh uprising of the people, the only source of progress. Mao called it a cultural revolution. The people were enjoying Daminju, mass democracy. Chaos can't harm us, he proclaimed. It can only harm our enemies. Mao lost control of the Cultural Revolution. It became a war of all against all. Deng Xiaoping was among those attacked. Mao stripped him of his power, then brought him back to repair a shattered society.
Xi Jinping,
like those in power who had experienced Mao's mass democracy, Deng Xiaoping's greatest fear would be Dongluan, turmoil, chaos, upheaval.
What will your job be on the leftist commune? I'm going to be leading discussion.
When the students of 1989
I'll be
took to the streets, they too were branded as stirring up Dongluan. Many leaders in the government saw them in the light of the past. They were a throwback to the horrors of the Cultural Revolution that had nearly destroyed China.
At the end of the Cultural Revolution, the Chinese economy was on the verge of bankruptcy. What could be done? Now here's where Deng Xiaoping was really smart. His prescription was capitalism. Reform and opening up actually meant learning from capitalism. But he couldn't say that outright, because capitalism was supposed to be our arch enemy. Now, how could you turn around and learn from our enemy? So Deng came up with something called socialism with Chinese characteristics.
It's such a good quote.
He followed his instincts. First and foremost, the people didn't have enough to eat. They had to be fed. Secondly, the people who had been politically wronged had to be exonerated. These were very practical things. Little did he know what tremendous changes would be triggered once this process began.
It was deep winter, 1979, when a thaw began to be felt. A stretch of bare wall near the city center became a place where people posted their hopes and fears about the new China. There were a dozen unofficial journals, too, and new voices heard.
Socialism with Chinese characteristics is the
A
biggest
young
of all
man
time.
named Wei Jingsheng wrote a poster. What China needed was more than the 4 modernizations the government was promoting in agriculture, industry, science, and defense. China needed a 5th modernization, democracy. Democracy wasn't the result of progress, Wei Jingsheng argued. It was a precondition for progress. Meanwhile, Deng Xiaoping was on the road, apparently moving away from communist ideology. Deng was welcomed in America. Time magazine named him Man of the Year.
Amazing.
In the U.S., China's economic reforms were greeted with enthusiasm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States
kind of neoliberal
and His
today. It's a much
Excellency
blended
Deng
system at the end of the
Xiaoping,
day.
the Vice Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China.
Drew, you must like it a lot if you watch it on One Punch Man. I'm trying to be good.
Rocky Mountain High, Rocky Mountain High.
Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter.
Mr. Vice Premier, it is with great joy that we welcome you to our country, and it is with true love that we extend our very best wishes to you and your people on your new long march toward modernization in this century. I thank you very much.
Very nice words.
Wei To Chen.
How beautiful.
Thank you.
How beautiful. What beautiful
Deng
words.
Xiaoping went to America, and soon after, hope came to China.
the road to China.
Wow.
With fun and adventure in mind.
This is great stuff. I love it.
The seventh
very good
wonder
stuff, guys.
of the world is here beneath our feet. Compared to this, the road to Mandalay is obsolete.
Hey, this is it, Peking, China. Amazing, isn't it? Just 10 years ago, who would have dreamt an American comedian would be standing here in Tiananmen Square saying whatever he pleased and photographing anything he pleased. But in this fast-moving world, radical changes can occur overnight. Take a look at this square. Almost 100 acres. Looks like Jackie Gleason's patio. Now they can get 1.5 million people in here. Of course, they're not here today. Nobody knew I was coming.
Americans felt an enormous relief. The Chinese are, after all, just like us. They want what we want, and maybe we can sell it to them.
Very hopeful times. Very hopeful times.
But even as China and the US swapped celebrities and made deals, the dark gates closed on others. For his warning that Deng might become a new dictator, Wei Jingsheng was framed and sentenced to 15 years. He was still in prison when the students came to Tiananmen in 1989 to demand democracy. Few of them knew his story.
In China, if you wanted to express your opinions, you had to speak from within the Communist Party.
Great documentary.
If you
by the way,
talked
guys.
outside, they'd throw you in jail.
Leave a like on the video. Please leave a like on our live stream. YouTube will recommend us.
The only option for a pure idealist is to commit suicide. I once wrote an essay entitled, "Commit Suicide and Save the Country."
Amazing.
Of course, it didn't pass the censors.
Leave a like on our video, guys. More people see it.
I'd completely lost faith in the Communist Party. I thought the only workable thing was to join up and try and change it. Committing suicide myself wouldn't do the country much good. A more useful thing to do was to help the Communist Party commit suicide. Lenin had taught us that the easiest way to take a fortress is from within. There's also the Trojan horse in ancient Greece. If you can't win through confrontation, you have to try sneaking inside. That someone like myself could join the party was because cracks had already appeared. Before Deng's reforms, someone like me would never have been let in.
Amazing.
Now begins the Grand Mass Parade to celebrate the 35th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
By 1984, when the People's Republic marked its 35th anniversary, there was something new to celebrate: the success of Deng Xiaoping's reforms. Once, Deng had been purged by Mao for his disobedience. Now, Deng was no longer under the great teacher's shadow. He could make his own plans, and he had the power to execute them. He would be called the Grand Architect of Reform. By Deng's side were his loyal ministers, Hu Yabong, Zhao Ziyang, men given the task of reform, men who could also be blamed when reform went too far.
Those are two good guys.
Some students in the parade raised a homemade banner greeting Deng by his first name. Hello, Xiaoping, an unheard of liberty. People were genuinely grateful to Deng.
China's industry is advancing toward modernization. Like agriculture, it will soon be carried forward on the wave of reform.
The early reforms brought quick and dramatic change. In the countryside, communes were broken up. Rural markets were revived. Farmers started to make money. There was a lot more money to be made.
Up for the Tiananmen Massacre, Deng would have been the member of the jury. That how different it would have been, yeah. If it wasn't for Tiananmen, I'd think it was a great man.
The old men in charge were changing China. The results were going to be seen everywhere. After decades of relative isolation, China was looking outward to the world.
Great advertising.
Just ahead, all the enticements of capitalism beckoned.
life is getting better and better. The light industry float shows how life is becoming more colorful as our living standards rise.
Amazing stuff.
The National Day celebrations in 1984 were an elaborate, enthusiastic affair. Many people saw a bright future ahead. But why did my friends and I feel so depressed? The overcast sky, the lone figure of Deng Xiaoping popping out of that car, riding stern-faced down Chang'an Avenue. I thought it all boded ill for the future. That kind of spectacle was the heritage of the Mao era. It was an embodiment of revolution. And for us, revolution was made up of a small number of ambitious political careerists on the one hand, and the frenzied masses on the other. And we were fed up with all that.
Head turning go boo.
A measure of economic prosperity had been achieved by 1984, but we saw countless difficulties ahead, and we didn't know how heavy a price the Chinese people might still have to pay. All I could do was to help change things bit by bit. I knew I couldn't make that much difference, but that didn't matter, because there was nothing else worth doing anyway.
27 live viewers, thank you guys. Please leave a like. Leave a like on the video. Very important. Leave a like, which will recommend us to more people. Thank you, guys.
1.5 million people in the capital attend the Grand National Day Evening Carnival. The carnival evening will forever remain in our memories. Come to see Tiananmen, come to see our country in 5 years' time.
Look at the smog, yeah, holy crap. 1 second, guys. I just need to reopen the tab. Sorry. There was a bug with it. 1 second. Sorry, just got to reopen the tab, guys. Sorry about that. I agree with the comment, North Korea, but money. That's the scary thing that we're dealing with, isn't it? Okay, sorry guys, it's back now. How's that? Is that okay?
The carnival evening will forever remain in our memories. Come to see Tiananmen, come to see our country in 5 years' time.
Looks beautiful there. Looks beautiful. The Marxist Leninist stuff is so scary. It's really fucking creepy to me. Wow, this is 5 years later. Wow. It's a great documentary. Lushun. Famous speaker.
On May 28, 1989, a student leader named Chai Ling requested an interview with an American journalist. Tiananmen Square was then occupied by students. Martial law had been declared. No one knew what might happen. The interview was recorded with a home video camera.
This is very famous, very disturbing.
These may be my last words, because the situation is becoming very grim. My name is Chai Ling.
Chai Ling.
I am 23 years old. Oddly enough, my birthday is on April 15th, the day Hu Yaobang died.
Hu Yaobang had been the general secretary of the party and Deng Xiaoping's chosen successor. Public mourning for Hu would last for a week and would become the ground from which all the demonstrations of 1989 would grow.
He was a very liberal guy.
In many ways, the movement is not very mature. An opportunity presented itself accidentally. No one knew Hu Yaobang was going to die when he did. This movement is a great manifestation of the natural democratic instincts of the students and the people.
a spontaneous expression of the people's own interests. I've come into contact with people from all walks of life. They feel they have no security. Many have gone overseas. I feel this country is finished. It's going to die.
Hu Yabang had been removed from power 2 years before his death. He'd been accused of leaning towards bourgeois liberalism. No one protested openly when Hu was purged, but now people claimed him as a champion of enlightened rule. Mourning for him towards bourgeois had been removed from power 2 years before his death. He'd been accused of leaning towards bourgeois liberalism. No one protested openly when Hu was purged, but now people claimed him as a champion of enlightened rule. Mourning for him became a cover for protest against those still in power. Or, as it was said at the time, the men who should drop dead are still alive, yet the man who should be alive is dead.
In Chinese culture, there's a phenomenon I'd call the cult of the dead. After death, all the man's flaws are forgotten and his memory is enshrined in a halo of glory. Then people use the dead man to vent their anger and express their hopes. It was clear to me that people weren't simply concerned with one man's death. Hu Yaobang's death made it possible for a crowd to gather in a public place and gave them something to discuss. And that led to discussions of all kinds of other issues. Most of the talk was about our own lives.
My parents kept saying, in the past, although wages were low, it was easy to raise you 3 children. How come these days, even with you holding a job, we're always short of money?
Deng Xiaoping's reforms, which had been so popular, were disappointing a lot of people by the end of the 80s. Workers could no longer count on lifelong employment, the iron rice bowl, and the socialist safety net of medical benefits and pensions was being dismantled.
Factories had trouble paying their workers, so they kicked out a bunch of people. They didn't use the word fire. They called it reprioritizing the workforce. All these things came with reform.
Everyone knows what happened in the early stages of capitalism. The competition was savage and there was no protection for the weak. In the quest for profits, there was a total disregard for the impact on the society and the environment. This is exactly what's happening in China right now.
I agree, Kevin. I agree with you.
We're in a transitionary period. The reforms are necessary, but workers have to protect their own interests.
To get rich was glorious, said the government, but those who got rich were mostly people in power and insiders who had always done well. Only government and industry cadre could work the turnover, buying goods at fixed government prices and selling them on the free market at a big profit.
Leave a like, guys.
More than anything else,
leave a like,
workers complained of corruption.
The officials take and take, damn it, so why can't we take? How come when we take, we're called criminals, and when you take, you're not?
People needed to vent their anger, but they were worried because so many had been persecuted in the past just for speaking out. In a crowd, they felt it was safe to let off steam. Often someone would rant and rave and then quickly disappear back into the crowd. But I felt that the reason for a lot of my suffering was that hardly anyone took responsibility for what they said or did. I thought I should try and set an example. So I told people my name whenever I spoke, to show that I was prepared to take the consequences for what I said. I wanted to indicate to people that to change a society, you had to start with yourself.
I like that.
Students and intellectuals had been among the strongest supporters of the reforms. Yet, after a decade of economic growth, they enjoyed few of the benefits.
There's a saying in Beijing, you're as poor as a professor and as dumb as a PhD. This was really true. No matter how hard you worked, you couldn't get anywhere.
There is something really wrong with the reforms. Those in power have benefited from them, not the people. Although there is superficial economic prosperity, the masses and the intellectuals have been deprived of any hope or initiative.
小孟同志与世长辞了，他是一个清官，他国外没有存款，他的子女也没有因为他当总书记而爬上什么高位。
Interesting.
昨天在这里谈到了民主，什么是民主？我个人认为，民就是人民大众，主就是当家作主。
That's great. Love this.
我们要当家作主。
That's brilliant.
The Communist Party had always defined Minju, democracy, in just this way, the people in charge. But if real democracy was to be implemented, how were the people to take charge?
China is so huge and communications are so bad. Even if you were to call national elections tomorrow, how would people know whom to vote for? Conditions weren't ripe for a sudden leap to that stage of democracy. But people did know whom they wanted to elect in their local communities. So open elections were already possible at the village level. When this form of democracy became more routine, we could introduce broader elections on the county level, and then higher and higher up. Those of us who were working for Zhao Ziyang pushed for this type of grassroots-level democratic election. Of course, the hardline communists immediately saw this as a threat to their power, so they were dead set against it. As for the intellectuals, they said, grassroots democracy is not important. What we want to determine is the fate of China, not just the fate of a village, a county. So we had trouble getting support.
Students dissatisfied with the status quo might have taken up the hard work of building democracy at the local level. Or they might have organized to demand redress of their own grievances as underpaid and undervalued intellectual workers. But that's not what interested most students. They talked, as Chinese students have always talked, of saving China.
Hu Yaobang's death was caused by the mental stress resulting from his illegal removal from office. We thought commemorating one man was not going to help China. To ensure our nation's positive development, we had to start transforming the political system. We wanted to use this opportunity to put forth our political demands. Around midnight on April 17th, we set out from Beijing University. We carried a banner that read, "The Soul of China."
Wow.
On the morning of the 18th, over 1,000 students held a meeting in the square.
This is so not allowed in China today. Thanks for joining, Steve. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks for signing up as a member. I
The
appreciate it a
students
lot.
settled on
Thanks,
7 demands and wrote up a petition.
Cheers,
They
Steve.
carried the petition to various government offices. At Xinhuaman, the entrance to the old palace compound, where China's top leaders live and work, the students waited for an answer.
The students surged towards the gate a number of times, so I went over to the big red columns. I called out to them. I'm a worker. I've been a soldier myself, and I think what you're doing is very risky. This is the seat of the highest power in the nation. If you storm in, the government will have every reason to mow you down. I said, to sacrifice yourselves like this is completely meaningless. We should use other methods to achieve our goals. I told people to stop pushing, to sit down and wait. Eventually, the crowd settled down. There were no clashes that night. The next night, I didn't go to Xinhuamen, but later I heard there'd been a bloody incident.
Look, I see, guys. I've met him before. He's Uyghur. Believe it or not, this guy, Wu Haisi, he's literally a Uyghur guy, and I've met him before. He came to Adelaide. I met him, shook his hand, took a photo with him. Very interesting figure. Wow.
I've
met this man before.
我是今天凌晨420惨案的目击者、组织者，还有一些其他情况的知情者。我们在那里静坐，一直坚持到了早上5点。好。在这个时候，他们出动了近1000名军警，野蛮的冲击我们的队伍，野蛮的殴打我们的学生，还有北京市的其他各界的朋友，打伤人数可以说不计其数，而且他们对我们的女同学进行了猥亵、侮辱。反对这样，反对暴力，反对暴力！
我们是有组织的，我们不是乌合之众，我们是这个社会的文明的分子。我相信我们大家都会这样认为，所以我们要有秩序的、有纪律的组织这次活动。北京市的各个高校呢，现在正在努力争取联合起来。我们决定罢课不达目的誓不复课。
To achieve concrete results, student activists felt they needed a new organization of their own. Those who were willing to lead it were taking a great risk.
On the night of April 19th, a new student union was formed at Beijing University. 7 people volunteered to be on the organizing committee. They became the leaders because they were courageous enough to step forward. There were no formal elections. Later, the committee made many efforts to organize elections, but because we constantly faced new crises, we couldn't do what we'd originally intended.
Organizing committees appeared on many Beijing campuses and within days formed a citywide coalition of independent student unions.
I agree with Super Bass. These people are the real revolutionaries. Pretty amazing. I'm very inspired watching what them.
Before dawn on April 22nd, students gathered at Tiananmen for Hu Yaobang's official funeral. The list of their grievances had lengthened. With every passing day, Hu, and mourning in his name, was acquiring greater significance.
Much you can wait. They had a lot of drip. These guys had a lot of drip, guys. It looked really cool for the 80s.
On April 22nd, a memorial ceremony for Hu Yaobang was held in the Great Hall of the People. When I entered, I felt that the atmosphere was very grim. The ceremony seemed hurried, and after Party Secretary General Zhao Ziyang read the eulogy, all the leaders from the Central Committee rushed off.
Wow. Wow.
When I came out of the Great Hall of the People, I saw a huge crowd gathered in Tiananmen Square. I wanted to go over to them, but there were 9 rows of police standing between us.
The students had brought their petition and demanded that Li Peng, the prime minister, come out to accept it himself.
When we saw our classmates kneeling there, holding the
Wow.
petition with raised arms, everyone cried.
Wow, the footage is so amazing watching this stuff. The footage is incredible. We've got 15 people watching live, guys. It's dropped off a bit. Please leave a like so that YouTube will recommend us to more people. I would really appreciate it, guys. It's a bit of a smaller stream today because unfortunately my Twitter got banned, which is extremely unfair. Everybody understands that it's extremely unfair. I've been very brutally treated, unfortunately, by X.
In it were our suggestions to the government, but we had to hand it in kneeling down. No one paid any attention. No one came forward to accept it.
We all saw those 3 students. We workers felt, Premier, you should come out. You should accept the petition and answer their demands. Even if you don't agree, you should at least make some gesture. But the Premier just left. He completely ignored the students. Now, how do you expect people to take that?
With social media, this stuff would.
How could the government be so callous? Many of us who had just gathered inside the Great Hall had taken part in student movements when we were young. So why were we treating the students this way now?
During those early days of the student movement, we pleaded with the authorities, petitioned them like loyal subjects in traditional China. At first, we made direct appeals. Then
let me try to find my photo with Workhazy. Workhazy. I want to try to find that. It's probably on my Twitter, Workhazy. Definitely met him.
We pleaded with tears and on bended knee. Yes, we were even willing to kneel down before them, like subjects petitioning the emperor. We had to beg them to come out and talk to us. But then again, it's fair to say that the government virtually crumbled under the weight of our knees.
What the students
Beautiful. We've got 25 watching live. It's built up a bit. Guys, please leave a like, and then YouTube will recommend us to more people. Thank you. We're streaming. It's a smaller stream today, unfortunately, because what happened is I was suspended for 12 hours by Twitter because I mocked Glenn Greenwald. Also, Drew, the new opening for King of the Hill released today, and more info about it. Hank spent time in Saudi Arabia in between the OG and revival versions. Really? King of the Hill. Are you kidding? Is it actually? Bobby Hill as an adult. Oh my God. Oh, should I put this on the screen for 1 second? It's my ADHD. Pickles LeBlanc is literally distracting me. Oh shit. Hey, 1 second. We'll watch this for 1 second.
Like subjects petitioning.
Wait, where is this? King of the Hill. Guys, I am going to put on the King of the Hill one for 10 seconds. Damn. They revived it. Wow. Oh my God, it's Adult Bobby. Holy shit. That's crazy. Wow, King of the Hill. I'm going back to the Tiananmen thing, but I just want to watch this for a second. I got distracted by the chat. Chat was giving me ADHD. Is there a trailer or is it just the credit reveal? Interesting. I love that show. I used to watch it. Damn, I'm getting memories now. I used to watch it. I was a kid and I would watch on the weekends. I'd watch The Simpsons back to back, and then I'd watch The King of the Hill, Futurama. Oh, gee, those were the days. Hey, gee, life was so easy then. Life was so simple then.
You should at least make some gesture. But the premier just left. I'm out.
Life was so simple back then. Gee, you'd have the Fox News marathons. No, sorry, not Fox News. It'd be on Fox 8, The Simpsons, and you'd have the marathons on the weekends. Fox 8, that's it. In Australia, it was Fox 8. We'd watch it on Foxtel. You'd watch the marathons on the weekends. It was so goated. And I was a kid, and I learned so much. I got so much of my humor from The Simpsons. Good show.
You should accept the petition and answer their demands. Even if you don't agree, you should at least make some gesture. But the premier just left. He completely ignored the students. Now, how do you expect people to take that? How could the government be so callous? Many of us who had just gathered inside the Great Hall had taken part in student movements when we were young. So why were we treating the students this way?
That's a great comment by Pickles LeBlanc. The death of TV means media sucks now. Kids won't know the joy of finding some mid-TV show you love because you have limited options. Damn, that kind of makes me sad, eh? Remember when we only had TV? I'm sounding like a fucking boomer. But gee, there was no AI, there was no social media. All we could do was watch Simpsons on the weekend. I'm getting really boomer right now. Good times.
Now.
During those early days of the student movement, we pleaded with the authorities, petitioned them like loyal subjects in traditional China. At first, we made direct appeals. Then we pleaded with tears and on bended knee. Yes, we were even willing to kneel.
Quality-wise, the documentary has a richer feel about it, a warmth, or maybe just the feeling of the time. Oh, it's an amazing documentary. Hey, I don't think they make documentaries like this anymore. It's sad. I feel like media has really gone downhill. Hey, it's sad. Damn, it's brutal.
Down before them, like subjects petitioning the emperor. We had to beg them to come out and talk to us.
But back then, there was no Drew Pavlu live show, right, guys? Right? The 20 people watching. See, guys? Trust the fucking plan.
But then again, it's fair to say that the government virtually crumbled under the weight of our knees.
What the students were opposing now were the very same things we had opposed in our youth. Why had we turned into a party which was against the people and the students? This was not the same Communist Party I had once joined.
Good evening. Thousands of Chinese students took to the streets today in defiance of a government ban on public protests. The students' chant was for democracy, their demands for political reform. The backdrop was a memorial service for fallen leader Hu Yaobang.
I was in New York at the time. This sort of news was on television and in the papers every day. When friends got...
Guys, he's the guy who won the Nobel Peace Prize in China, and he died under house arrest. So brutal. Liu Xiaobo, a Nobel Prize winner. Prize for the Nobel Peace Prize. 2008, I believe it was. Oh, wait, was it 2008? Wow. Liu Xiaobo. Died in 2017 under house arrest. When did he win the Peace Prize? 2010. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2010. So Liu Xiaobo won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2010, and then he died under house arrest. It's really sad.
Got together, all we talked about were these events. The TV images affected me deeply. I thought, what's the use of getting all worked up about it if you're so far away? I had to go back. So I got on a plane leaving New York on April 26th. When I was changing planes in Tokyo, I met someone who had just come from China. He said, what do you think you can do back there? Haven't you heard about the editorial that just appeared? It calls the movement a plot by a small handful to instigate anti-party, anti-state Dongluan.
Dongluan. Turmoil, upheaval, chaos. A People's Daily editorial denounced the demonstrations. We must unequivocally oppose Dongluan, the headline read.
Wow.
Such an editorial, appearing in the official Communist Party media, amounted to a charge of criminal conspiracy.
Wow.
It was dangerous for me to go back. I even asked about flights returning to New York. But then I heard the boarding announcement for my flight to Beijing. I didn't have time to hesitate. I had to get on that plane. I thought, what the heck? Live or die, I'll just go.
With the April 26th editorial, the government took a firm stand against the student movement. The Communist Party has a tradition of passing judgment on social incidents through the media. In the past, Mao had written quite a few People's Daily editorials himself. He launched a number of mass political persecutions this way. That's why when the April 26th...
That was like Mao Zedong's version of Twitter, like just the People's Daily editorials. You know, Trump sitting there in the morning on the toilet. That for Mao Zedong, that was the People's Daily editorials. Wow.
Editorial came out, people assumed that it represented
Hello,
Deng's
Matt
attitude
Cole.
toward the student demonstrations. Everyone expected that the government would crack down on any new demonstrations.
We were very angry. What petty minds. These people in the government have gone completely haywire. Just listen to what they're saying. It sounds like the Cultural Revolution all over again. The mindset, even the words, were identical to the editorial which came out after the Tiananmen incident of 1976. We all lived through that episode. And we know how that ended up.
The editorial of April 26th reminded many people of what happened after another great state funeral, the events of 1976, known to everyone as the Tiananmen incident. In January of 1976, Premier Zhou Enlai, Mao's close associate, one of the great heroes of the revolution, died.
The people of the capital could not restrain their bitter grief. They left their homes and gathered on the sidewalks of the Chang'an Boulevard, along which the cortege would pass.
Zhou was widely regarded as a moderate, more humane and tolerant than other top leaders. Just as the mourning for Hu Yaobang in 1989 was the occasion for protest, the outpouring of grief for Zhou Enlai was a reproach to the hardliners in power.
Can't you stop for a moment, dear Premier? This is Tiananmen. Don't you remember the many festive occasions we celebrated here together? Your ringing laughter is still in our ears. Your warm gaze rests on our tears. Beloved Premier Zhou, how we miss you, how we need you.
The times when important leaders die are dangerous. Zhou Enlai was a mentor of Deng Xiaoping. He helped bring Deng back into government to counter the excesses of the Cultural Revolution. Deng gave the eulogy at Zhou's funeral. But the events following Zhou's death would once again bring Deng Xiaoping down. That April, during the traditional festival in honor of the dead, thousands of people gathered spontaneously in Tiananmen Square to lay wreaths in honor of Zhou Enlai. They read poems, gave speeches. Reports made to Mao said the agitation was really directed against him. Police removed the wreaths, but people brought more. Police ordered the crowds to disperse. The crowds overturned a police van and set it afire. At last, Mao took action. Workers armed with clubs were sent in. There were beatings and arrests. In the official press, the events in the square were denounced as counter-revolutionary violence inspired by a small handful of conspirators. The alleged mastermind behind the turmoil of the Enlai was a mentor of Deng Xiaoping. He helped bring Deng back into government to counter the excesses of the Cultural Revolution.
Leave a like on the stream, guys.
Deng
Leave a
gave the
like on the
eulogy
stream,
at
which
Zhou's
will
funeral.
recommend this to more people. Leave a like on the stream.
But the events following Zhou's death would once again
Drew, I
bring
think you're
Deng
too
Xiaoping
fat to
down.
be taken seriously. Wrong.
That
Very
April,
wrong.
during the traditional festival in honor of the dead, thousands of people
I literally lost like 15 kilos the past year.
gathered spontaneously in Tiananmen Square to lay wreaths in honor of Zhou Enlai. They read poems, gave speeches. Reports made to Mao said the agitation was really directed against him. Police removed the wreaths, but people brought more. Police ordered the crowds to disperse. The crowds overturned a police van and set it afire. At last, Mao took action. Workers armed with clubs were sent in. There were beatings and arrests. In the official press, the events in the square were denounced as counter-revolutionary violence inspired by a small handful of conspirators. The alleged mastermind behind the turmoil was that unrepentant reactionary, Deng Xiaoping.
Deng Xiaoping.
Deng was denounced, condemned, forced from power.
Look how resolutely denounced Deng Xiaoping's reactionary crime.
Deng was denounced, condemned, forced from power. Not until after Mao's death would he emerge as China's new paramount leader. Then, the verdict on the 1976 upheavals would be reversed. The scenes in Tiananmen Square would be replayed with a different meaning. They became courageous demonstrations of the people's will. And yet now, in 1989, the government of Deng Xiaoping, faced again with protests inspired by the death of a leader, reached for the old words of denunciation. Once again, the supreme leader heard reports that the agitation was directed against him. Once again, a small handful of conspirators were supposedly plotting to bring down the state. Once again, the irrevocable judgment was passed.
Guys, leave a like on the stream.
The editorial of April 26th caught the students by total surprise. We didn't expect that the government would jump to such a vicious conclusion about us. We felt that without large-scale street action, we couldn't compete with the propaganda machine of the government, and the people wouldn't know the truth about what we were doing.
The Chinese constitution guarantees the people free speech and the right to demonstrate. But Chinese law punishes counter-revolutionary instigation by the enemies of the people. The final arbiter was the Communist Party. Were the students the people? Or were they now enemies of the people, who must be suppressed?
I got together with some friends to talk about the situation. All of us were teachers at various universities. We heard that huge numbers of police would be deployed the next day. This really worried us. We decided to demonstrate with our students. We felt
I'll leave a like and sub if you can do 3 push-ups without huffing. Okay, watch me. Hang on, the mic was unplugged. Did you guys get to see my... Someone said, I'll leave a like and sub if you can do 3 push-ups without huffing. Did you guys get to see the push-ups? Was it on the screen? Or do I need to do more? I'll do some more. Hang on. I'll do some more. I'm on camera? Hang on. Beautiful. Just a couple ones. How was that? How was that? All right. Beautiful. We'll go back to the documentary. Pay up, Aeon. You've got to subscribe. You've got to like the comment. You've got to like. You got Aeon. You've got to like. And you've got to subscribe. Beautiful. It's important to do your push-ups every day, guys.
we must show where we stood at a moment like this.
Kevin says, awesome desk, by the way. Thank you, man. It's a beautiful desk. I paid like $1,000 for this. Beautiful desk. Beautiful desk. Yeah, dude, I love it. I wanted to get it because it looks like the US presidential desk. It's so funny. I thought this is so goated. Set up all the books behind me and the beautiful desk. I honestly reckon the Drew Pavlis show needs more viewers. We need more viewers. I've got a beautiful desk with a beautiful backdrop. It deserves more viewers.
In the early morning of April 27th, students set out
with our students. This really worried us. We decided to demonstrate with our students. We felt that we must show where we stood at a moment like this.
In the early morning of April 27th, students set out from campuses all over the city and walked toward Tiananmen Square, the political center of China.
Need a couple lamps. Yeah.
Police were placed on alert throughout Beijing and positioned to blockade key intersections along the route.
We were prepared to face great danger. Some students even wrote their wills. This was because we had heard that the government was moving in troops to suppress any further demonstrations.
I got together with some friends to talk about the situation. All of us were teachers at various universities. We heard that huge numbers of police would be deployed the next day. This really worried us. We decided to demonstrate with our students. We felt that we must show where we stood at a moment like this.
We need more viewers here. We need more viewers, folks. Leave a like on the
In
video
the
so
early
that we
morning
get
of
more
April
viewers.
27th, students set out from campuses all over the city and walked toward Tiananmen Square, the political center of China. Police were placed on alert throughout Beijing and positioned to blockade key intersections along the route.
We were prepared to face great danger. Some students even wrote their wills. This was because we had heard that the government was moving in troops to suppress any further demonstrations.
I need to study more about Taiwanese modern history.
Everyone showed a lot of self-control.
There's beautiful
Since the government had accused us of instigating turmoil, we were eager to show the people that we weren't a lawless mob, nor were we trying to overthrow the Communist Party or socialism.
Many workers were furious. The government said that the students were instigating turmoil. Well, the way I see it, if the students were wrong, you wouldn't have to send the police or the soldiers. There are plenty of young workers like me who could beat them up. But the students were right. They expressed what was in the hearts of us workers. That's why we went out to support them.
I was really moved that day. The students held out cardboard boxes for donations, and I stuffed money in them. When I saw the students were sweating, I bought popsicles for them. I supported this demonstration because it was focused against one of the most fundamental means by which the Communist Party maintains its rule. That is, to accuse people of fabricated political crimes. The students showed real conviction. They put their lives and their future on the line to fight this unjust system.
When we started out, I was very worried about the possibility of bloodshed. I kept telling the students that if we encountered the police, we should not force our way past them. At one point, the clash with the police was so intense that people could have been trampled to death. I was almost crushed in the crowd. But it was obvious that the police were not ordered to beat people up. They only tried to form a human blockade.
The students met little further resistance. They continued their march toward Tiananmen Square.
The students were very pleased with themselves for breaking through police lines, and the cheering of onlookers made them feel like real heroes. The whole thing now turned into a
I think one of the reasons you're losing viewers is because if people wanted to watch this documentary, they could do it themselves. I still enjoy your content. I don't know, what would you prefer? I think it's interesting. Well, I'm enjoying it. I'm educating myself.
Because there was no more danger, and everyone was watching the students' big show. That was how I felt later that day, completely different from when I started.
How about we stop after an hour then? Let me know.
It had been an unprecedented day. A mass student demonstration, held in the face of government warnings, had been allowed to march peacefully through the streets. And that very day, the government announced that it was willing to talk.
In this event, both sides had made efforts to exercise restraint. This unprecedented moment could have opened up new possibilities, if only people understood what it meant. But a historical opportunity is often easily overlooked, easily passed by. Unfortunately, this was just what happened.
I had just arrived back in China at that point. I suggested to the students that it was not a good idea to continue staging huge demonstrations. Once you have shown your strength, you should return to classes and try to secure some specific democratic rights on campus.
Few students were ready simply to go back to class. But what should they do next? The triumph of April 27th would be the last moment in which all parties working for change were united. The euphoria soon began to fade, and disagreements over tactics developed.
What a student movement represents is a call for social justice. There are times when we have no choice but to take to the streets to express our ideas, vent our anger, and show our determination to change things. April 27th was such a time. The students did a great job, and the government was forced to change its usual behavior. But our ultimate goal is to change the entire system. This cannot be accomplished by students staying in the streets.
The students demanded that the government grant legal status to their new organization, the Coalition of Independent Student Unions, and talk with them as equals. They wanted Duihua, dialogue.
One of the most important demands raised by the students was for the government to have a dialogue with them. Where did the idea of dialogue come from? Actually, Zhao Ziyang was the first to promote it. He said government leaders should engage in dialogue with ordinary people. The party hardliners opposed this from the start.
All right, guys, I'm going to quickly, I got to go to the bathroom. Vote in the chat whether we should keep watching or I can go to other stuff. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom 1 second, guys. I'm back, guys. Let's see. You probably need to find shorter form content to keep people engaged. Damn, it's hard, dude, with the lower attention spans of people. I could have sat here and watched the whole 3-hour documentary, but what can you even do when people have, unfortunately, very low attention spans these days? And it's very difficult as well because, what was I going to say? Oh, that's ironic, I guess. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. I've been suspended on Twitter like 20 minutes. Yeah, good to have interaction when. Yeah, listen, it's very hard. It's very hard, guys. I've been suspended on Twitter today, and then that just makes it a lot more difficult for me to promote the stream because that's where I normally promote it. Okay, hang on. You know what? Okay, we watched the first half. Let me play Ethnoguesser. Let's play today's version of Ethnoguesser. Check out Prince of the Yen. Japan is defaulting on its bonds and selling off US treasuries. More relevant to now. Yeah. It's interesting. Princes of the Yen. I'll have a look into that. That's interesting. Just do split screen with Subway Surfers on Minecraft or something. That's where we're at, guys. Like, I want to watch this intellectual, interesting documentary on the Tiananmen Square massacre, and like half the chat needs Subway Surfers to be on half the screen. Man, oh, fuck, can I even do that? How do you do that? Extra camera. I'm trying to see if I can play. We literally need fucking Subway Surfers. This is so sad. I tried to do something intellectual for once, guys. I tried to do something intellectual for once. Once I thought we could watch some interesting documentaries, and then half the chat's like, we need fucking Subway Surfer on the screen. This is so fucking brutal. What can you even do? Should we watch like 5 minutes of it with like Subway Surfer on the fucking screen as well? Dude, streaming is not for intellectual stuff. Well, it's not my fault that I'm trying to do something interesting and new. Sorry for being interesting. Sorry for trying to be new. I know Hassan Pike is not intellectual. Maybe I thought maybe I could try something else, but everyone else apparently wants Ethnoguesser. So we'll go to Ethnoguesser. Let's see. It's going to be difficult. Created Tiananmen in Minecraft. What do you guys reckon? That's gonna be tough. I reckon I'm gonna just go like Botswana. Fucking hell. Play the documentary with Subway Surfers on the side. I don't know if I can do that though, unfortunately. I think you can only put in like one video source on StreamYard, which is the one I use. Damn. How do I do it? So, the Sigmas riz down the streets of Ohio for the right to protest government cringe. Facts. That's actually so true. That's what happened in Tiananmen. Yeah, I actually have no idea with this one. Hey, hang on. Ethnoguess has fucked it up. Wait 1 second. Okay, hang on. Okay, Ethnoguess, daily game. This is really difficult. I'm gonna say West Africa, maybe. Like, that's hard, eh? No, I'll say Ethiopia. Let's just see. Oh, fuck. Didn't even get close. Okay, that's definitely Caucasus. So I'm gonna go southern. I'm gonna go like around here, Armenia. Let's see. Oh, damn. Nope, that was actually Eastern Europe. Fucked it. Okay, let's see. This is certainly Aboriginal Australian, right? Okay, I'm gonna go Aboriginal Australian for this one. Oh, actually, I reckon that could be Samoa, maybe. I don't know. I'll go Central Australia. Oh, fuck. No, I got it right. I should have gone with the fucking islands. Okay. That's interesting. This one's interesting. What do you guys reckon? Mr. F reckons Papua New Guinea. Try Papua New Guinea. Is that Papua New Guinea? I think I'm gonna go Indonesia. I'm gonna go Indonesia with this one. Let's see. I'll go like Sulawesi. Oh my god, the screen's fucked again. Stream's not going well today, guys. We're fucking so unlucky. The map fucked it up. Hang on. Okay, just in the interest of fairness, I'll put all the ones that I already guessed, even though I got them incorrect. So I clicked Southern Russia. I got that one wrong. I'll put again. I was wrong. This one I put Australia. I was wrong. I put that in the center of Australia. Okay, next phase. Okay, I'm gonna go Indonesia with this one. I'm gonna go put like Sulawesi. Oh wow. Okay, Central America. I was so wrong on that. Chat lagging. Okay, that was so wrong. Okay, next phase. Damn. Okay. Okay, this certainly. What do you guys reckon? Maybe like West Africa? Okay, I'll put like West Africa. Let's see. Oh, South Africa. I fucking thought that actually. I should have got it. Damn it. Okay. I should have got that. Oh my god, the screen's fucked again. Guys, can you recommend what do I do here? Because I can't fucking click through. It's just giving it's stuck on the map and I can't fucking get to the next phase. I'm so fucking frustrated. It keeps on fucking up. The map keeps on fucking up. What do I do, guys? I can't get out of this. Fuck me. Press escape. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna have to fucking refresh it again. Bloody hell. Fucking hell. They've got to stop they've got to fix their stupid fucking the way they've got the website. It fucks up. If you get stuck on the map, you can't get out of it. Okay, Matt Curl saying get naked on the stream. No. Okay, what did I put for this one again? Press control and scroll wheel. What did I click for this one? I think I put Ethiopia. I got it wrong. Okay, I got it wrong. This one I got South Russia. I got it wrong, so I'll just put that there. Okay, I put middle of Australia for that one. Got that wrong. Next face. What did I say for that? I said Indonesia. I got that completely wrong. So I put that again. Next face. I put Nigeria, I think, for that one. Got that wrong. Next. Yeah, it's because I'm on a trackpad. I think that's what. Oh, okay. Okay, absolutely Aboriginal Australian. Okay. But what part of Australia? It's interesting. I'm gonna go like maybe Queensland area. Okay, we got a pretty good score on that one. Oh, okay. That's got to be Germany. I reckon Germany. Bullseye. We fucking got it, guys. That was a good one. That was fucking good. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, I reckon that's Latin America. I'm gonna say like maybe, let's say maybe southern Mexico. Oh, completely wrong. What was it? South Polynesia. Oh, I got it wrong. Oh, guys, what is this? I don't know. I have no idea what this one is. I actually have no idea. Fuck, that's difficult. Gee. India maybe? I'll go like. He's saying Peru. Okay. I'm gonna go for Peru. Fuck, I knew I should have got India. Damn it. Damn. Okay. What do you guys reckon here? This is a really difficult one. What do you guys reckon here? Do you reckon? What do you reckon this is? What do you guys reckon here? Fuck, this is difficult. I'm gonna go India. Oh, Sri Lanka. Oh, damn it. We were shit today, guys. 1,600 points. That's just shit. Fucking hell. It's not good at all. Not good at all. What should I react on stream? What should we react on stream, guys, while we're here? What should we do? We've played our daily round of Ethno-Guesser. People don't want me to watch the documentary. Apparently the documentary, you can't watch it without Subway surfers on it. What should we play, guys? What should we play? If we can't do the documentary because the documentary doesn't have Subway surfers, what should I put on? What's Big Bird in China? Glenn Greenwald. Actually, okay, that's a good one. Okay, we'll do Glenn Greenwald and Tucker. Let's watch that. Okay, that's actually a good one. Glenn Greenwald and Tucker. Okay, this
must be a little weird to get scooped by CNN on Joe Biden's.
Actually, that was a great suggestion, Obsidian. Thank you for that.
Dementia. Like, you had no idea.
None of us knew. But no, that now Jake Tapper has uncovered the truth. Like, it turns out.
Let's see the comments. Greenwald holding his ground against blackmail only makes me pay more attention to the guy. Solid. So true. Now I know there are people trying to keep Glenn quiet. I'm clicking on anything I see with him. Fucking genius. I think these two might be the best journalists we have in America right now. Mossad making Glenn bigger than ever. Massive L for Israel. Shit. So all you have to do is just like post your cock on like fucking Twitter and everyone's going to be like, wow, based. Israel must be trying to stop him. Fucking genius. So guys, if I want to get more views, I just post like fucking my cock or something like that and just say, oh, Mossad put it up there. And apparently then everyone goes, wow, we have to defend him. The leaked video shows Glenn shaking the cage. They're clearly attempting to ruin him, but I will support him because he is an honest journalist. Does that mean I should put my fucking ass on the screen, guys? And then I just say, oh, Israel forced me to do it. And then we'll get more views on the fucking daily live streams. Is that how it works these days? Matt Curl says, we've been telling you this for years. Sad the way the world works these days.
Oh, Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. Did you know that?
How did he find out?
Just hardcore shoe leather investigation.
Just working his sources.
Just working his sources, like calling all the people in Washington, digging up like FOIA documents. I just find the Epstein file so fascinating because the two biggest issues are there people to whom he's trafficked minors, but nobody has been charged with being the recipient of that sex trafficking. But the much more interesting question for me is, was he working with or for any foreign intelligence agencies? Israel is the #1 recipient of NSA technology and NSA intelligence. But at the same time, the documents that describe who are our greatest intelligence threats, who are our greatest intelligence adversaries, who spies on.
What is your hobby? I have the same hobbies as, Glenn. Put Hitchens versus Christopher Hitchens. Oh, actually, that'd be interesting. Oh, that actually would be really interesting. Hey, man, let's watch a little bit of Glenn Greenwald, and then we'll think about
the most, who is capable of spying out the most. #1 on the list is Israel as well.
Camera should be a bit more zoomed in. Okay.
All right, Glenn, I think last time you were here, I ambushed you just by rolling the cameras. Not doing that. We are on camera right now.
Right. It was funny because every show you ever go on, it always begins in some sort of way to indicate that you're actually starting. Like, Glenn Greenwald, welcome to the program. Thank you, Tucker, for having me. But the last time I was on, we were just sitting here chatting, and it turned out 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, we're rolling? Yeah, we've been rolling since we started.
Yeah, but you are one of those people, and this is the highest compliment I can give, who's exactly the same off camera, exactly the same as you are on camera.
You're right. No, but that's why
There's no difference
I
at all.
thought our conversation.
Guys, isn't that true? Glenn is exactly the same off camera as he is on camera. I'm glad Tucker thinks that. I'm glad Tucker and him get to have some fun. Good on them. We support LGBT rights.
It was just the conversation that we always have, and it turned out it was just the show, which made no difference. Your staff courtesy let me see this first 10 minutes. I was like, yeah, that's what I think. That's how I speak, and that's all fine.
Yeah, there is. If you like Glenn Greenwald, you like him at dinner. Trust me. That's what I can say about you. So, you are, I think, the dean of alternative media. You've been doing this longer than anybody that I know personally. So it must be a little weird to get scooped by CNN on Joe Biden's dementia. Like, you had no idea.
None of us knew. There was that debate, and we were all shocked, but we were told he had a cold. So I was like, okay, he's on some cold medication. Like, who hasn't been there before? It makes you a little like a little groggy, a little just like dragged. But no, that now Jake Tapper has uncovered the truth. Like, it turns out Joe Biden was in cognitive decline. Did you know that?
How did he find out?
Just hardcore shoe leather investigative.
Just working his sources.
Like calling all the people.
Brokeback Mountain, Groiper edition. Glenn and Tucker, Brokeback Mountain, Groiper edition.
People in Washington digging up like FOIA documents. No,
the only thing interesting about Tucker Carlson is that he's a total square, but somehow was a roadie for Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. That is actually a strange fact about Tucker.
Really, it's one of those things where you kind of can't believe what you're witnessing, because Jake Tapper is pretending to have uncovered a scandal that he himself led the way in the media, or one of the leaders in the media, in covering up, to the point where if somebody would go on his show and say, Joe Biden is obviously in cognitive decline, he can't get a sentence out, he would say, how dare you bully kids who stutter? Like, are you at all ashamed of what you're doing? That's what he told Laura Trump when she was like, yeah, I feel bad for Joe Biden. I wish he could get a sentence out. And he's like, do you ever think about what you're doing to kids who stutter and the kind of world you're creating for them? And she's like, what? Like everyone else, I never even knew Joe Biden had a stutter. I've been watching him for decades. I never saw him stutter before. The whole stuttering thing was just itself.
Did he actually say that?
Yes, he told Laura Trump.
Drew, your skit in Woolies like a year or two ago was funny as fuck after Tucker visited Moscow. That was pretty good. That was pretty good, I have to say. Back in the day, that was fucking goated, right? That was fucking goated. We got to go back to that. Tucker spoke at the funeral of the former head of the Hells Angels, Sonny, whatever. Yeah, that was fucking strange. Who fucking knows what he was doing there?
That she was like at an event, and it was a very benign remark. She was just saying, yeah, you watch Joe Biden. Because we talked about this before when I was on your show. It wasn't even when he was president. It was in the run up to the 2020 campaign, and we were talking about this. And we always talked about, everybody I know did, no one takes joy in it. Like, we've all had that experience of watching an older person in our family, go through cognitive decline. It's actually quite sad. So the way she was saying it was like, yeah, honestly, as a human being, I watched Joe Biden, and he's in the middle of a sentence that he can't finish. I'm like, come on, Joe, get that out. And then when she went on Jake Tapper's show, he played that tape, and he said, do you understand the world of bullying that you're creating for kids who stutter? And she was like, what? I'm just reserving
stuttering kids.
Yeah, and she's like, I didn't even know he had a stutter. He said, and we all know he has a stutter, and I know that you are mocking his stutter. And so this was not just a person who didn't speak about Joe Biden's cognitive decline, who's now uncovering this shocking truth that 85% of the public has known for years, according to polls. He would go on. Like, I heard him this week saying,
I love Jake, bro. He's cool.
The very few people, because he was asked why did people in the Democratic Party speak up and say this since they all knew it. And he said, well, Dean Phillips tried and he got mauled and maligned and his character was attacked by the Democratic Party. I was like, by the Democratic Party? Go watch what happened when Dean Phillips went on Jake Tapper's show and said that one of the reasons he was running for president, he was concerned about Joe Biden's age and his infirmities and how he couldn't win and couldn't govern. And Jake Tapper said to him, do you know that your Democratic colleagues despise you and they've been telling me the worst possible thing? That's what he did to everybody who went on his show in order to say, hey, I think Joe Biden's in cognitive decline. He was, I mean, obviously he wanted Biden to win desperately and would not tolerate anyone going on the show and saying that Biden was in cognitive decline. And now he's making millions of dollars off a book. But the only good thing is that his credibility is so in tatters from it that he had to hire a PR crisis firm, like the kind that Anthony Weiner had to hire, that like Puffy Combs hired. Like imagine being a journalist and being exposed as such a fraud that you have to hire a PR crisis team of the kind that like public figures hire when they're involved in some like big, sex scandal or like bribery scandal. That's who's managing Jake Tapper's behavior and his comportment. They've tried to place like hit pieces on me and succeed in like, shitty places like the Daily Beast. But everything he says now is scripted. Like every interview he does now, at first it was like, what are you talking about? This is outrageous. And now every time he's in an interview, he says, I look back on my coverage with humility. That phrase they feed you to make it seem like you're accepting accountability, even though you're really not.
Yes.
Yeah.
So funny watching Glenn Greenwald talk about scandals as though he's holier than thou. Yeah, Glenn could use a PR crisis team right now. I think Glenn could use a PR crisis team. But he shouldn't be putting shit on them. He could probably draft one in right now. It'd probably help a lot, right? Probably help a lot.
What's interesting, though, is that it wasn't just, I disagree with you. Biden seems fine to me. What's interesting is that he used the kind of most vulgar moral blackmail you can. Like, you're attacking children who stutter. You're attacking disabled kids when you criticize the president of the United States. Like, that is so low. It's hard to believe that happened. I haven't seen the clip, but
yeah. I mean, he claims he called Laura Trump to apologize. Maybe he should do that on his show, since that's where he told his audience she was attacking kids who stutter. Like, that's like one of the worst things pretty much that you could do is like bully kids with disabilities, right? Like if my kids ever did that, I would punish them for 3 months. So like accusing her of having done that, like probably doesn't warrant a private apology, or maybe it does too, but also, you go on air and you were like, hey, I did something really despicable. What's so amazing too is they're trying to rewrite history. Obviously, one of the ways they're trying to rewrite history is to say we were the victims of the fraud. We in the media were the victims of the fraud, and we're so angry at this inner team of Joe Biden's White House advisors who kept this from us.
Well said, Mitchell's Dawes. People are entitled to their sexual proclivities. Let 1,000 blossoms bloom, as far as I am concerned. Very true. Our good friend of the show, Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald is a big friend of the Drew Pavlu show. It's very sad what's happened to him. He's a friend of the show. We go back a long time, me and Glenn. We're mates. We had some crazy times in Rio de Janeiro. We went to the favela one night. We had some great times. So to see him in this spot of bother right now, it's disturbing, and it highlights to me that this could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody. Seriously, this could happen to anybody. It's really disturbing to me because the nights that I spent with Glenn in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, those are nights that I'll treasure for the rest of my life. So it's brutal to see this happening to him. Marked safe from caring about Glenn Greenwald's sex life. So true. Glenn talking at 3 times, he must be in a hurry.
Who hid this, even though the entire public knew forever. But I've written about this so many times, it drives me crazy how easily history is rewritten. The first time I ever heard concerns about Joe Biden's cognitive decline was back in 2018 when the Democratic field was coalescing of people who were going to run against Donald Trump. And they were really worried Joe Biden was going to get the nomination solely by virtue of name recognition because he was the vice president to Barack Obama for 8 years, was viewed as loyal, has been around forever.
At least we know he's not lactose intolerant. Great comment by MB Duckman. I'm going to star that comment. Thank you. That was a really good one. Put some classic stand-up on. Maybe Bill Hicks Relentless. Sure thing.
And they all knew there was no way he could sustain the rigors of an election because he was in cognitive decline. And so it was like these Democratic operatives. Like,
why not? We'll put some on. I'll watch 5 minutes from that.
Dude, if I lived in this...
I don't think I've ever seen Bill Hicks, so let's see if it's actually good.
Town, I'd be on my hands and knees praying for abduction every fucking day, all right? And I wouldn't be picky. Greyhound. Abduct me. I said, what do you mean abducted? He said, well, they abduct people and they perform scientific and medical experiments on them. I said, well, maybe we'll be lucky and it's some type of sterility dentistry program they got going. Maybe they come down, castrate you, straighten your teeth, and split. Sort of a clean up the universe pact. He said, huh? And I'll tell you something too. That's starting to annoy me about UFOs. The fact that they cross.
Alex Jones. Yeah, why not? Why not? We'll put some Alex Jones on.
These pedophiles that are on this camera, they don't stop being pedophiles. You don't recover from being, you're not a recovering pedophilia guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's horseshit. Those people are still walking
Here's
around.
Alex Jones.
And
Here's
they know
Alex
who they
Jones.
are. They know
Watch
where they
this.
are.
Watch this.
Tell us, oh, we've closed it. He acted alone. We have the files. If you're going to crap on me or piss on me, don't rub it in and don't tell me it's raining. Okay. Please. Can you not, just as a PR issue, will you stop it? Kosh and Bongino? I know, obviously, Dan, nobody's smarter than you. But if you want to go from being very popular to very unpopular and thus hurt Trump as well, just keep going. Keep going.
They're pissed off.
Okay, I'm going to stop right
Alex
there.
is pissed off. Damn. They're pissed off.
Oh, we have dire wolves living in an undisclosed location where we spliced 13,000-year-old DNA with a regular wolf. And then you have Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World in 1932. His brother, Julian Huxley, was the head of the World Eugenics Society. And he says, no. The world's not going to be like Orwell with the SWAT teams. That's for the 1% that might resist. The real plan, the reason I could write Brave New World, is this was the consensus of the elite in Europe and England of the world we're going to build with genetically engineered people, a subspecies that serves us, everyone taking soma, everyone's controlled. And he explains in that Berkeley speech, if you don't read the book, this is a real plan that he saw being in place by 2020. You have to understand Brave New World is an instruction manual. They want to turn humans into a commodity. That's why Obama calls it the end of history, where there are no more cycles, where everything's controlled, where 90% of the world population is reduced.
You pray you live long enough to affect good in the world. And I definitely pray that for you.
Oh, we have dire wolves living in an
It's just so fucking schizo.
A different looking Alex Jones says that a race war is coming to the United States and that he has spoken with J.D. Vance about it. Probably worth reporters asking whether this is something J.D. Vance has spoken to Alex Jones about. I can't totally tell what looks different about Alex Jones. I guess he's bald, his beard is white, and he's lost some weight. He looks extraordinarily different. But here is what he had to say about what he says is a forthcoming race war in the United States.
So, you have to remember, they're targeting low information voters. So if you're informed, that doesn't even make any sense. But they're targeting people that are super stupid. But that's still not a majority of people, so it's not working. But it's the only play they've got. So they're going to launch the triggers for civil unrest. They're going to bill it as race war. I've literally probably said that 1,000 times the last 4 years.
We'll put on Bill Hicks again.
And now they're everywhere saying Trump's coming with the military to attack the people, particularly black men, and that he's going to cause
Jones on immediately 10 more
a civil war. And then you actually see Raskin on C-SPAN talking to their operatives.
I'm sorry, Max. I think we're going to keep Alex Jones on for a little bit because we put him on and immediately 10 more views.
He's one of their top strategists saying, oh, we're not going to accept his election. We're not going to certify it, and we're going to create civil war conditions.
We've got 25 people watching now. I think Alex Jones attracts people to the show.
And then today you've got Carl
literally way more people just tuned into the show the second I put Alex Jones on the stream. Fucking strange.
We'll play some in a minute. Dim strategist Carl advocates armed revolution. If Trump wins, claims males of color will be arrested by MAGA. And they're just waiting for a white cop to be in a questionable shooting. Like they said, a white cop killed that black woman in Virginia last month. Then they released the surveillance.
Jodo says, just tuned in. We're doing a race war. Who are we fighting? Well, we're just watching Alex Jones. We're just checking in on what he's been saying recently. And it's funny. I put Alex Jones on the stream and like literally 10 more people just jumped on the stream like the second I put him on. It's very strange. Guys, if you're watching the video, please, if you're watching the live stream, please leave a like. Leave a like on the live stream right now.
Body cam. It was an Asian.
All right. So he's...
Pickles LeBlanc, I intermittently come in and out of your stream. You've got to stay on the stream, guys. You've got to stay on the stream. Max Hooper is obsessively telling me, put on Bill Hicks. Guys, do we put on Bill Hicks? I don't want to lose 10 viewers straight away, but Bill Hicks, Iraq. Okay, we'll watch a little bit of this. We'll watch a little bit of this.
So I'm from the States, as you can tell by my complete lack of sophistication, but that's okay. Because I've greased my hair and I'm a little fucking poet tonight, all right? I'm the little dark poet. That's who I am. And during we had this big war thing happen. I don't know if you caught any of that, but it was a very stressful time for me, the war. I'll tell you why. I was in the unenviable position of being for the war, but against the troops. And not the most popular stance I've ever taken on an issue, I must say. I don't choose wisely always, and yet I'm committed. So,
damn, he died at age 32. That's brutal.
First of all, this needs to be said. There never was a war. How can you say that, Bill? Well, a war is when two armies are fighting. So you see, right there, I think we can all agree it wasn't exactly a war. And President Bush, a complete surprise, he turned into a demon, man. When he was first president, they called him the wimp president. I mean, this was the cover of Newsweek. Wimp president. Apparently, this stuck in this guy's craw. Guy turned into a fucking demon, man. We surrender. Not good enough. We run away. Too little, too late. We're having way too much fun. Those guys were in hog heaven out there. You understand, man? They had a big weapons catalog opened up. What's G12?
I do like Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon's pretty fucking funny. Obviously, I disagree with a lot of his political takes, but he's pretty fucking funny.
Well, do, Tommy. Well, it says here it destroys everything but the fillings in their teeth. Helps us pay for the war effort. Well, shit, pull that one up. Pull up G12, please. Cool. What's G13 doing? Weapons for all occasions. And everyone got excited about the technology. And I guess it was pretty incredible watching a missile fly down an air vent. Pretty unbelievable. But couldn't we feasibly use that same technology to shoot food at hungry people? You know what I mean? Fly over Ethiopia. There's a guy that needs a banana. A stealth banana. Smart fruit. And I watched the Iraqian technology. Man, I've never felt so good about myself. I look at fucking bell bottoms of my closet and go, that ain't that fucking bad, man. What was the technology they were buying? Where do they still, there's available still now? Or where do they could get harder shit off the streets of New York right now, man. Don't you think one of the key prerequisites of a weapons system is, I don't know, the ability to aim the fucking thing? Or is that, I don't know a lot about the military, and yet I feel that would be key. What was the Scud? It was like launching a station wagon at people, man. Some Buick flying through the air, some Iraqi driving. Allah! Watch out, here come one of them Buick Scuds. Watch out, up in the ocean. Those things are so hard to steer. Allah, bloop, bloop, bloop. Allah, bloop, bloop, bloop. Allah, Allah. Another Buick's good. I guess the most amazing thing about the war, obviously the disparity in the casualties. Iraq, 150,000 casualties. USA, 79. Let's go through those numbers again. They're a little baffling at first glance. Iraq, 150,000. USA, 79. 79.
You fucking crazy.
Does that mean if we had sent over 80 guys, we still would have won that fucking thing, or what? Just one guy in a ticker tape parade. I did it. Hey. Once again, though, I was watching the CNN, man, that blew it all, man, all the anxiety. Remember how it started? They kept talking about the elite Republican Guard in these hushed tones. Remember that? Like they had the bogeyman, you know? Yeah, we're doing well, but we have yet to face the elite Republican Guard. Yeah, like these guys are 10 feet tall, desert warriors. Never lost a battle. We shit bullets.
Pretty good.
Well, after 2.5 months of continuous carpet bombing and not one reaction at all from these fuckers, they became simply the Republican Guard. Not nearly as elite, as we may have led you to believe. And after another month of continuous bombing and not one reaction at all, they went from the elite Republican Guard to the Republican Guard to the Republicans made this shit up about there being guards out there. We hope you enjoyed your fireworks show. You said, Bill, Iraq had the 4th largest army in the world. Yeah, well, maybe. But you know what? After the first 3 largest armies, there's a real big fucking drop-off, okay? The Harry Creek.
Drew, when you're doing 10 minutes with Drew, where you get roasted, debate, trolled, or agree with your Discord for $10 or so. Nah, good idea. I should do that. I haven't worked out how to... I'll work out the technology. Are the
5th largest army in the world. And they've already are the 5th largest army. A real big fucking drop-off, okay? The Hare Krishnas are the 5th largest army in the world. And they've already got our airports. So, who is the greater threat? People that bugged me in the States, people said, hey, war made us feel better about ourselves. Really? Who are these people with such low self-esteem? They need a war to feel better about themselves. I saw them on the news waving their flags. Can I recommend, instead of a war to feel better about yourself, perhaps sit-ups? Maybe a fruit cup, 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. I'm not telling you how to live. I'm just recommending perhaps a better way to feel better about yourself. And we can avoid a conflagration.
Pretty good guy. Guys, watch this. This video is so fucking goated. This was the Gulf War, America, the height of the fucking West. We were so powerful, guys. Dota says, why are we watching this guy? Alex Jones is more entertaining. Well, you have to blame Max Hooper for that. Max Hooper was being a boomer and saying, put on Bill Hicks, put on Bill Hicks. Guys, watch this. This is so fucking goated. The West was so fucking powerful back then, man. Return to fucking tradition. Hang on, I'm gonna fix the layout. Hang on. Guys, watch this. This was when the West was at its height of power. America at height of power. Close your eyes if you're Russian. Close your eyes if you're fucking Russian. Fucking hell. Gulf War was amazing, eh? They crushed them. Honestly, they should have overthrown him back then, and then the Second Iraq would have never taken place, and obviously the Second Iraq War was a disaster. Max says, we were powerful. Don't you mean they? No, we were part of the international coalition. I identify with the West. America, Europe, Australia. The West was at its peak back then. Oh my god, dude. Close your eyes if you're Russian. Seriously, close your eyes if you're Russian. This is fucking brutal if you're Russian. Brutal viewing if you're Russian. They cannot find out something. Crazy. It's actually amazing that America was able to do this. Max, you're confusing the Iraq War with the Afghan War. Yeah, Taliban is not in Iraq, dude. Confusing the wars. The idea was to have a war. Dude, Mitch, like, what were you supposed to do when Saddam Hussein, it's easy to invade countries with no defenses? Guys, Saddam Hussein started that war by invading Kuwait. Would you have really allowed him to just keep Kuwait? That's fucked up. Drew, you should interview Ryan Macbeth or Not So Erudite like Destiny, but I think better combos. Okay, interesting. Amazing. Fucking crazy stuff, eh?
In the Gulf War, Bush Sr. fought a limited war for a limited objective. The limited objective was get Iraqi troops.
What was achieved in Iraq apart from creating ISIS? Max, this is literally, okay, watch this, right? This is Sarah Payne contrasting the Gulf War with the Iraq War. There's two different wars here, man.
In the Gulf War, Bush Sr. fought a limited war for a limited objective. The limited objective was get Iraqi troops out of Kuwait, restore the Kuwaiti government, and then call it a day when you've done those things. That's what he did. And it was an incredibly successful war, and it went to our heads. Because when you run a successful limited war, it's over very rapidly. You get stuff with not too much cost, and it's done. So then we try to do the total makeover of another country. And excuse me, what right does one country have to do a total makeover on another country? And then, of course, the Russians and Chinese are apoplectic watching us do this, and that's a problem. Or you think about Afghanistan. Maybe you go in there and you at least boot Osama bin Laden out of the country and then proclaim it victory and leave. In the Gulf War, Bush Sr.
He's really
fought
fucking smart. I really like Sarah Payne, actually. Let's watch a little
AI
bit of this.
apparently.
I know Victor Shi. I think we follow each other on Twitter. He's a very smart guy. Let's watch a little bit of this.
Is one of the higher priorities for Xi Jinping. The party is very, very paranoid that some actor outside, but even inside the party, is going to use it as a tool.
Mitchell Dawes, why does everyone keep on... No one understands. Why is everybody getting the Iraq War confused with the Gulf War? They're different wars. The Gulf War was the early 90s under George H.W. Bush, and it was when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the goal was to kick out Iraq from Kuwait. It's a different war to George W. Bush going in and overthrowing Saddam Hussein. It's literally different wars, guys.
To usurp the power of the party.
Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan during the war. No, Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan when the Afghan war started. He escaped from the battle of Tora Bora, which was a massive disaster, massive intelligence disaster before Dick Cheney, massive, massive disaster for America. He escaped from the Battle of Tora Bora and he escaped to Pakistan. That's when he then exfiltrated out of the country. Maybe it's because most of this chat wasn't alive during the Gulf War. Yeah, Max was. Max actually was.
The Chinese leadership, they're not going to play golf 3 days out of a week. Xi Jinping and his colleagues are having meetings about policies 270 days out of the year. If Xi Jinping expresses a preference over a policy direction, that is the direction you have to go toward no matter what. If he observes that you're dragging your feet, you will be purged.
What is the succession plan after Xi is gone?
There are no plans right now. I think this transition is going to be more ruthless, more brutal, and potentially more disruptive.
Today, I'm talking with Victor Shi, who is the director of the 21st Century China Center at UC San Diego. China is obviously the most important economic and geopolitical issue over time, and doubly so if you believe what I believe about AI. I was especially keen to talk to you because you have deep expertise not only in Chinese elite politics, but also...
You can call it different wars, but it's the same people fighting in the same place for the same reasons. Dude, what are you talking about, Mitch? What are you fucking talking about? America doesn't have boots on the ground right now. Like, there's no Iraq war right now. Come on, dude. How much of the chat was alive for the Battle of Lake Changjing? I don't think anybody in the chat was alive for the Battle of Lake Changjing, man.
Its economic system, its fiscal banking policies. We'll get into all of that before we get into the AI topics.
Oh,
is China?
Suddenly we've got a huge uplift of viewers. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Suddenly we've got people in the live stream. Thank God. It was not going good for a while. But suddenly some more people have joined. We've got 28 live viewers right now. Please, if you're watching, guys, leave a like on the video. YouTube will recommend us to more people.
Actually a more decentralized system than America. If you look at government spending by provincial governments versus the national government in China, it's like 85% local plus provincial, 15% national. In the US, it's actually, if you look at state and local, it's 50%, national federal government is 50%. When you think of an authoritarian system, you often think of it as like very top down, the center controls everything. But if you look at these numbers, it just seems like it's quite decentralized. Or is that the wrong way to look at the numbers?
I think for a while, China was quite decentralized. So this is kind of from the mid-1970s all the way until the mid...
Just on Afghanistan, is it true that the Taliban were planning to hand over bin Laden to the Americans, only they stopped bombing Afghanistan, but they refused in the rest of this history? No, dude, I'm pretty sure the Taliban basically refused to hand over bin Laden to the kafir, the unbelievers. They said that they asked America to hand over... They asked America to hand over evidence that he was behind the bombings, and then they would try him themselves. That's what they said.
in 1990s, China was very decentralized, where local governments generated a lot of revenue, but they also spent a lot of money. And it incentivized them to do, kind of basically good things, such as trying to attract as much FDI.
First Iraq War, when it ended, there was no military left in Iraq. Then Saddam gassed the Kurds. Then after the Blair Bush War, they stayed. Yep. Max is 46 years old. Scott Ritter is a convicted. Max is almost old enough to be my dad. I think my dad's like 55, something like that. Scott Ritter is a convicted serial pedophile, compulsive liar, Russian propagandist traitor. Well said, Inquisitor. Well said.
As possible, trying to attract as much local investment as possible, give tax breaks, and so on and so forth. So I think, China had a very good period of mainly sort of private sector driven growth because of this fiscal decentralization. And that's an understanding of, I think, most
Kevin
economists.
63. Okay. We've got somebody here who was around back then. The Americans found a guide to the RTS computer game Tiberian Sun in the Somerset House. The fact that bin Laden required a guide for that game makes me question the strategic vision.
But then there was a tax centralization in 1994, basically, where the central government basically said, okay, this is ridiculous. We don't want to end up like the Soviet Union, and fall into different pieces. We need to control fiscal income. So then they grabbed the most lucrative source of taxation at that time. And it continues to be the case, which is the value-added tax. Yeah. And so the collection of value-added taxes, and then also in subsequent decades, pretty much all other...
Peter points out there were factions within the Taliban in 2001 that wanted to turn over Osama bin Laden.
Tax categories are now collected by the central government. Then they reimburse part of the money to the provinces. And then supposedly they say, okay, now you can spend money as you wish. But in reality, that's not the case. So in reality, it's kind of like, well, if you do this thing, then I'll give you a little bit of money, but you have to do the thing that I want you to do to get this money, to get this grant, basically. So then the fiscal autonomy, I would say, has been falling since 1994. I mean, there are different periods. Sometimes, there's a little bit more autonomy. So, sort of from 2000 to until recently, until 2020, the localities gain more autonomy vis-a-vis land sales. So that's when the real estate market was doing very well. Even though they couldn't control the tax revenue, they could control the land revenue. But then the central government basically killed the land market in 2022. And now I think localities in China are highly dependent on the central government.
Mm-hmm. Let's start at the very top. If you look at the members, first I want to understand personnel. If you look at the members of the Politburo and you look at their past, a lot of them will be provincial leaders and then some local thing before that. But in many cases, they'll have stints, as you said, as they were the head of this chemical engineering SOE, or they studied. Xi Jinping himself was has a PhD in chemical engineering, right?
Some kind of. Well, but
so that's what I want to ask about.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there's a lot of talk about Xi Jinping as a technocrat. It's not really like that, guys.
Chemical engineering SOE, or they studied. Xi Jinping himself was has a PhD in chemical engineering, right?
He doesn't have a PhD in chemical engineering, not in chemical engineering.
Some kind of. Well, but so that's
what I want to ask about. If you just look through the list, a lot of them are like PhD economist, PhD industrial engineer, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, some of them, if you look, it's like, they have a PhD in Marxist theory or something.
Yeah, Marxist thoughts. Yeah.
Which that seems fake. But are they actual technocrats? If you look at their degrees, they seem quite impressive. Or is this just like fake, made-up credentialism? If there's like a PhD economist in Politburo, should I be like impressed and be like, oh, they probably really understand economics, or should I just think this is kind of fake degree?
So the former premier of China, Li Keqiang, his undergraduate degree, I think, was economics, and he studied under one of the best economists in China.
Yeah.
So I think he understood economics. So I would say in the Politburo.
Why are these guys so obsessed with China? Max, Dworkesh and Victor Xi are not people who are saying that China is about to collapse. If anything, they say that China is very powerful right now. So I think you're projecting onto them. You don't really know Dworkesh. Dworkesh is pretty cool. I like Dworkesh. How do you have a PhD in communism? That's pretty funny. A lot of the top Chinese Communist Party leaders, they do PhDs in, I guess, like political theory.
Today, there is this wing of the Politburo who are military industrialists who were trained as engineers, and they indeed were trained in the best programs in China. So Ma Xingrui,
have you seen Congressman Greg Stube making a bill blocking Washington Metro funding until they rename it to Trump Train? Fucking mental.
Party Secretary of Xinjiang, for example, in the Politburo, graduated from Tsinghua University. Zhang Guoqing, also who worked in the military industry for years. I don't know if it's Tsinghua, one of the other top science programs in China. So they know a lot about science, but does that mean that they know a lot about governing? I mean, I think it's a somewhat different question. But then you also have other cases like Deng Xiaoping, right? So we can talk about him because he's in charge of cybersecurity in China. He has a technical background, but in metallurgical forging, graduating at, I wouldn't say, it's not the MIT of China, maybe closer to the IIT of China, just kind of like the second tier science institute founded by one of the Soviet experts who wanted to teach China how to do metallurgy. But does that kind of very specialized technical knowledge make you a better leader? I think it depends on the person, and I think what happens in the Chinese Communist Party is that as people rise up, there's certainly, you have to have political acumen. If you don't have political acumen, you're not going to make it. And some people, on top of their technical expertise, it turns out that they have some political acumen, but it's not something that you sort of know ex ante, except for the princelings, right? So the princelings, the reason why they're special is not just because of their genes, they're children of high-level officials, is that they grew up honing this political acumen because their parents could teach them about it. So then some people turn out to have political acumen. They're pretty smart. They don't necessarily have the best degrees from the best universities in China, and they end up being very successful. So it's not necessarily, all the Peking and Tsinghua University graduates, they all get to the very top. There's certainly a disproportionate amount of people like that in the Politburo, but they don't dominate because at the end of the day, it is somewhat random.
Yeah, I still feel confused about how to model the competence of the party, because on the one hand, they are super educated in STEM.
Dwakish is basically doing what I want to do, guys. He's a really smart guy, and he has an awesome podcast show, and just interviews like really interesting intellectuals.
And are selected at least partly on merit, etc. On the other hand, we just see them make like a lot of zero code was just genuinely stupid, like scrubbing down airport runways and so forth, and it just lasted for too long. And why was nobody steering the ship then? So, what's the way to put together this picture?
So there's a lot of expertise at sort of the lower level that can feed to the higher level, and there's some channels for doing that. I would say a lot of channels for doing that. So they're not so dysfunctional on that score. But what time and again leads to suboptimal policy is the party's sort of instinct to preserve itself, but then in a way worse than that, to preserve its power. Right, so it's not like, oh, well, we do this kind of thing, you lead to a better sort of outcome, public health outcome, and we just get to survive, politically. But if they see it's like, okay, even if we do survive politically, but it leads to a diminution of our power in one respect, we have less control of the banks, or
start a podcast with Captain Dreamer. Nope.
Like scientists become more independent or something like that, then they would say, let's not do that. Because it's like, what's the cost? Some people die, whatever, we have slower growth for a couple of years, but we get to preserve this power. We will go ahead and preserve power.
If you're an economist, okay, so here's like the tradition.
Yeah, exactly. This question of power preservation in China. They studied the model of Singapore very closely. They could have gone down the model of Singapore, which is kind of like quasi-democracy, still managed by, a leading party, but it's much more heavily focused on technocracy, etc. And they rejected the Singapore model in favor of, doubling down on the Leninist aspect of the system under Xi Jinping.
Additionally, the way I understand, if you study economics in at least an American university, you'll learn about like supply demand. Here's why certain regulations can be bad. Here's why tariffs are bad. Just the basic 101 teaches you that. So if a lot of the members at the highest levels of the Communist Party have this basic understanding, then what's the reason that they make mistakes that many economists say they shouldn't do? Like why, obviously people talk about rebalancing a lot. Why don't they think that increasing consumption is a good idea?
Well, so there's a traditional reason.
Dude, it's just politics. Again, it's just politics, hey? Like all these things threaten, powerful stakeholders in China, and these people don't want to reform away their own power.
And then there's today's reason, which is on top of the traditional reason. The traditional reason is that, so education in China, you get tracked into sciences, STEM, or you get into social science or humanities. If you get tracked into STEM, you may never learn anything about supply and demand, which is just not required. You just learn a bunch of math. You learn a lot of engineering if you want to be an engineer. And then there's some art classes for you to select. You can select the art classes or, maybe one econ class. For a while, learning economics was popular. So in the 1990s, all the engineering students would have taken an econ class, but people who were trained before that, they were not. The one class that is still required for everybody is government ideology, right? So in fact, the requirement for government ideology has been ratcheted up in recent years.
Mao Zedong and Ruhollah Khomeini are some of the worst men in history. Facts. Have you seen the documentary about that massive event the Shah of Iran held in 1971 to celebrate 2,500 years of history? No, I don't know that one. The biggest strength of the Chinese system is accountability right down to the local level. If you achieve your objectives, you're promoted. If not, you are held to account. In West, no one can. That's so retarded, Max. That's so retarded. Do you understand that leads all the local officials to fudge the numbers and to hide their own corruption and stuff like that? It's not exactly doing well when you've got like local levels of government with like 300% debt to GDP, React to post-industrial Northern England. That's a disaster. Drew, have you considered yellow warm lights for your room? Your streams often look cold and you look small in the video. I've got a yellow light on now. I've got the light on. Drew, imagine a new president in Turkey calling for the unification of Greece and Turkey. Would you vote yes or no? No. The US overthrew the Shah and Mossadegh and led to Islamic rule. Yeah, exactly. As Mitchell says, they're not accountable to the people.
Years. So that now, because I look at all the applications of students from China and I look at what classes they've taken, now once a year they have to take a class called Situation and Policy, which is basically just the Chinese government's perspective on all kinds of different issues. But that's not economics. It's not accounting. It's not some basic skill. It's just telling people what the government prefers in a given topic. So that's a traditional reason. So you can have some very high level officials, even if they have PhD in nuclear engineering, they may not know.
Max is so gullible. China has had the biggest anti-corruption effort in its history since 2012. Yep, so true, bro.
Very much about how the market works, how society works, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The new reason is that we have.
It was a massive purge by Xi Jinping of political opponents.
One very, very powerful figure in the Chinese Communist Party, such that even if you're a Politburo member, which used to give you some autonomy in the domain that you govern over.
Maybe more yellow lights are behind you. The walkway and the bookshelf looks cold and shadowy. Yeah, true. Okay, I'll have a look at that.
That is no longer the case. If Xi Jinping expresses a preference over a policy direction, that is the direction you have to go toward no matter what. Because if he observes that you're dragging your feet or that you're pursuing a slightly different agenda, you will be purged. And we've seen cases of that.
At some point, we'll talk about leading small groups and the way they work. But the picture you get from the fact that Xi is monitoring what all these different Politburo members are doing. He's noticing whether they're dragging their feet. He's leading all these small teams. You'll explain this in a second, how these work. But they organize different leaders who are the heads of the ministries or commissions that are relevant to a specific project working. And I guess every week they meet and they hammer out who's the bottleneck, what do we need to do to get a project moving.
Drew, what books would you recommend to gain an understanding of China? I've got my China section behind me. The Dicotta, they're really good. The Frank Dicotta books on Mao. The Frank Dicotta books basically on modern Chinese history are really good. There's 4 of them. Barbara Demick's Eat the Buddha is a really good book. The Invention of China by Bill Hayton is really good. What else? Kevin Rudd's book on Xi Jinping, which you can see behind me, is a really, really good book. He basically says that Xi Jinping is a Marxist nationalist, which is a very polite way of saying national socialist.
So Xi has ratcheted up the amount of such meetings.
Corruption is all rooted out. AI and tech have been effectively regulated, etc. So true, Max. Very gullible.
And the picture you get is somebody who is micromanaging details across all these policy areas.
Yes.
If you read Stalin biographies, there's a big thing like Stalin actually was a person like this, obviously not to great effect, but he was interested in micromanaging every single detail across even the theater productions in the country to like steel production, everything. Is that who
Mitchell Dawes, according to the lefties of Australia, the land is the people and the tribal elders are more legitimate than Canberra, and Australia is illegal. Facts. Yeah, Australia is illegal. So true. Andrew Hennessy. Hey, Drew, good to see you're streaming on a Saturday, but shouldn't you be out and about getting your Glenn Greenwald on? So true, Andrew. So true. Massive respect to Glenn Greenwald, who's a friend of the show. We're really saddened by what's happened to him. And, we had some great times in the favelas of Brazil over the past 10, 15 years. And I just... It's really shocking to see what's happening to him. Party Forever by Rowan Kallick is a very good book. Yeah, you know what? I should try and interview some of these people. That would be so good. Rowan Kallick. Yeah, that would be really good actually.
Xi is? Or
so if you look at what he does day to day, he spends a lot of time in meetings.
Yeah.
And it's astonishing. I mean, there's one thing. It's like there's the Chinese leadership. They're not going to play golf, 3 days out of a week. I mean, Xi Jinping and his colleagues are having meetings about policies almost every, like 270 days out of the year.
So the study sessions with the Politburo, these meetings, etc. Are they substantive? Are they real? Is he like actually learning the intricacies of like, here's how zero code has impacted this province and here's why we should whatever. Or are they just because if you read the announcements from the party or departments, they're just like
Drew, if you look at that podcast, there's like a yellow light or something shining from the book or top or something. Everything looks warm and fuzzy and nice. Yeah, true. Dude, I've got to fix up I understand. I've got to make my studio look a lot nicer. This is just basically the most bare bone fundamentals. I mean, I've only just really started out my YouTube journey. This is kind of like the minimum viable product. You see, I will be doing my best to make my studio look better in the future.
So vapid, like typical communist speak. How real are these meetings?
So I've talked to some people who've lectured, to the Politburo. I think they're somewhat real because they don't know ex ante what questions will be asked. Like I'm talking about the speakers, right? So I think Xi Jinping and other leaders, they know what the speaker would say in the main remarks, but then there's a Q&A portion of it, which actually is real. Like it's not staged. So that's pretty scary. If you're some professor, Xi Jinping asks you to come in and ask you a bunch of random questions. It's very scary. So I think they are substantive. And then, well, but the thing is also, Xi Jinping will make remarks after such a lecture, and those remarks become policy.
Yeah.
So you asked about the leading small group. So this is where this ranking is very important, right? So the head of the leading small group always has to be the senior most ranked person. And of course, the good thing
I'm out here favoriting all of Drew's recommendations. Drew from Timu.
about having Xi Jinping as the head of a leading small group is that his authority is not going to be challenged by anyone else because everyone agrees he's the most powerful and most senior ranked person in all of China.
Drew, he looks a bit like you if you were 30 years old and Asian. Pickles LeBlanc, stop fucking mentally torturing me. You were the guy who said I looked like an American lesbian 60-year-old woman. Fuck you, man.
But the problem is all the other members of the leading small group are lower ranked than him. So then, so whereas before, well, not all, but like whereas before, when decisions were made in the Politburo Standing Committee, notionally, the party and also even the bureaucratic ranks of all the Politburo Standing Committee members are equivalent to each other. So there was debates. There were debates, and then even sometimes overturning of the position of the party secretary general. Sort of historically, you have seen cases like that. But when most of the decision was pushed into all these different leading small group, usually there's one other person who's similarly ranked as Xi Jinping, the premier of China or one of the other people. But everyone else would be these vice premier, ministers, or provincial governors who are definitely ranked lower than Xi Jinping. And in no scenario will they debate a particular policy with Xi Jinping. So at most, maybe there's one person with sort of equal standing officially with Xi Jinping who could voice some kind of disagreement. But of course, because Xi is so powerful informally, no one would actually dare to do that. And so basically, the whole thing, once all the decisions got pushed into leading small groups, basically became Xi Jinping. And it's very hard on him because basically, before all these meetings, there's a briefing. Someone gets out a briefing book and say, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. Here are the policy options. Which one do you want? He has to make up his mind. I mean, sometimes I'm sure he consults with other people and so on and so forth. So then he has to be really engaged with a large number of policy area on a day-to-day basis because the decisions that he make becomes the law, basically.
Yeah, and it's stupendous to think about. We understand that you can tell somebody how big is China, the population, et cetera, the size of the economy. I think visiting China gives you a tangible sense of just how big. You have provinces, each of which have as many people as a normal nation state.
Drew, I disavow that all the time because of your stream. See, we're already influencing the culture. Red light with two soldiers in the background like Biden. So true. If I could only have that on every single time I stream, it'd be very powerful, right?
Provinces which have hundreds of millions of people, 40,000 people, 40 million people, 50, so forth. And then one person will say something at the end of a meeting that determines the policy for basically
everyone.
Yeah, for the population of North and South America or something. Does he say things at the end of meetings, during his speeches, etc., which indicate that he actually has a good understanding of these different policy areas? Because obviously the official speeches are very vague.
It's actually a really good podcast. I'm actually really interested.
And it's always something like, we will make sure that we are robustly pursuing Chinese growth while hewing to the tenets of Mao's thought, and never anything specific or interesting or. But do we have an indication that behind closed doors he's...
Well,
Thank you, Super Bass. Salute to you. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
Don't think there's anything specific or interesting, but if you've read, thousands of these things, sometimes it's quite revealing, actually. It is general.
I'm interested in what it reveals about him personally. Did he display...
King of Corinth. Thank you, King of Corinth. Thank you. Have a blessed stream. Thank you, mate. Have a good Sunday. Andrew Lendu, another amazing book on China is by Richard McGregor. The Party, The Secret World of China's Communist Rulers is an amazing insight into things like the organization department. Yeah, no, that's so true. I would love to have these guys on the stream.
Any analytical ability, any sort of empirical understanding of different policies, etc.
Yeah, that is difficult. So I would say because of his upbringing as a prince.
Drew, do you put much stock in your uni GPA? Look, before the whole expulsion saga, I used to have a GPA of 6.6 or something like that. I loved it. I was so obsessed with keeping a high GPA. At the moment, with my Bachelor of Arts degree, I'm just trying to pass, just trying to get through and just finish it. My Bachelor of Laws, I am actually trying hard. I think I almost got straight sixes last year. I missed out on a 6 in one course in law by 2%. So I try hard in law.
For internal party matters, how to control the party, how to control the military. From the speeches, some of these, they're not secret speeches, but they're sort of more geared to
understanding of different policies, etc.
Lendu, for your information, Max here is a former candidate for the Citizens Party in the seat of Moreton at this election, and he's quite pro-China. And he says the books you're recommending are just all Western think tank propaganda. In Australia, the GPA system is on a scale of 7. So I had a GPA of about my GPA in my arts degree before the whole expulsion saga was like 6.6 out of 7. I had almost straight high distinctions. And unfortunately, I kind of lost that after the expulsion. I'm just trying to finish the Bachelor of Arts now. Law, I'm almost on a straight 6 distinction average. I missed out on a distinction in one course by like 2%. Still working for Tony. Yeah, I work for Tony 2 days a week. Have you picked a book for the book club yet? Not yet. Listen, I've got 1 week left of my university exams, and then I'll work out the book club and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is difficult. So I would say because of his upbringing as a princeling, for internal party matters, that
any sort of like empirical understanding of
Larouche is still alive and committing mail fraud in Australia. Yes. The Citizens Electoral Council, the Citizens Party, they're still going. Max, you should tell Robbie Barwick to come and debate me sometime. I'll debate him live on the stream, seriously.
Of different policies, etc.
Yeah, that is difficult. So I would say because of his upbringing as a princeling, for internal party matters, how to control the party, how to control the military. From the speeches, some of these, they're not secret speeches, but they're like sort of more geared toward other members of the Chinese Communist Party. So some of these speeches, like if you go to China, you can read some of these speeches, which I have. He has a really good political nose. Like he knows what it takes to control the party apparatus, control the military. On especially economic issues, yeah, it seems like some advisor gives him some talking points. He talks through it. There's some sense of that. On technology issues, I think he cares a lot about it, but only from the perspective that competition with the United States is a very important objective of the Chinese Communist Party, is for him personally a very important objective, so he wants to win.
Yeah.
But precisely...
Slender will know all about the Citizens Party because Michael Denby and Kimberly Staffer wrote the Wikipedia page, which is mostly slander and defamation. So true. Beautiful. We should have a big debate. We should do a big party debate between Danby, Barwick, Drew, Max, Landy, you.
The extent to which he understands all the intricacies.
It's so funny. They hated Kimberly Kitching and Michael Denby so much.
It's unclear to me. I don't think he necessarily I don't think he does. But then comparing him to
Landy, Max used to be a Labour Party member in Queensland, and he defected to the Citizens Party.
American leaders, especially today, I think he's probably better prepared, just because necessarily precisely the extent to which he understands all the intricacies. Competition with the United States is a very important objective of the Chinese Communist Party, is for him personally a very important objective, so he wants to win.
Yeah.
But precisely the extent to which he understands all the intricacies, it's unclear to me. I don't think he necessarily I don't think he does. But then comparing him to American leaders, especially today, I think he's probably better prepared, just because in China, the experts, they talk to the top leadership all the time.
Yeah, the advantage of the American system, of course, is that, at least in theory, it can survive a leader who is not up to the snuff. Publicly available data is running out. So major AI labs like Meta, Google...
Well, that's like him defecting from Miami to Cuba. To go from Leavitt to Larouche. From Miami to Cuba. I love that. Lyndon LaRouche, what a figure. What a crazy guy.
DeepMind and OpenAI all partner with Scale to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Cuba at least has cigars and rum. That's good.
Through Scale's data foundry, major labs get access to high-quality data to fuel post-training.
Andrew Campbell, I think it was, and Danby updated the Wikipedia page 39 times a day after Kimberley slandered them in the Senate under parliamentary privilege. So true, Max. So true. Tell Barwick to come on the stream. Please, Max. Tell Barwick to come on the Drew Pavler show. We'll have a debate. Please, let's do a debate.
Including advanced reasoning capabilities. Scale's research team SEAL is creating the foundations for integrating advanced AI into society through practical AI safety for multimodal puzzles. Beyond the Deng Xiaoping, go to scale.com/Dwarkesh.
Dwarkesh is a really smart guy. I really like him, actually.
Okay, let's go back to Deng Xiaoping. How do you pronounce his name?
Deng Xiaoping.
Okay, sorry. So Politburo has what, 25 members? 20, 25?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
25 members.
Okay. Standing committee has 7 members. This is the key group inside the Politburo. And this person is one of those 7. He runs the Center for Science, the Central Science and Technology Commission. The reason I'm especially interested in him is because any large-scale AI effort that China would launch would be under his purview. Do we understand what he wants, who he is, what his relationship with Xi is, what he would do if AGI is around the corner, etc.?
Yeah, these are all very good questions. So I think in addition to the Science and Technology Commission that you mentioned, another very important position that he holds is that he's the head of the Office of the Central Commission on Cybersecurity. The head of the Central Commission on Cybersecurity is Xi Jinping himself, but the head of the administrative office, which runs the day-to-day operation of that...
Guys, remember in Australia when Scott Morrison everyone was pillaring, everyone smashed Scott Morrison because he gave himself like 4 ministries without telling anyone? Like in China, like Xi Jinping controls like 20 ministries. Can you imagine? It's funny, right? Drew, why don't you have a van so you can travel to meet people with meet with people to catch. I'd watch you if you interview Hansen at her fish and chip shop and Lambie at the special needs school. That's pretty mean.
That commission, which basically a leading group, is Deng Xiaoping. So, and he took that position back in 2022. So he's been steeped in cybersecurity for a couple of years. I think by now he knows all the major players and some of the key policy issues. His relationship with Xi Jinping is a very interesting one. So he only directly worked under Xi Jinping for 1 year. When Xi was in Shanghai, he was basically the very senior level secretary who would support whoever the party secretary of Shanghai was. And he worked under 3 different party secretaries of Shanghai, supported Xi Jinping for 1 year. For some reason, Xi Jinping just trusted him absolutely after that. And it's a mystery. And I've looked at all the open literature. I've asked people in Shanghai. Nobody knows why that's the case. I mean, almost certainly, I think one reason is that he was gathering a lot of information about the other leaders of Shanghai and sending all that information to Xi Jinping to basically let him know. Because at that time, as you know, the previous leader of China, Jiang Zemin, had a very big stronghold in Shanghai. So basically, Xi Jinping had to sort of break that apart before he could assert control over Shanghai. Deng Xiaoping likely was one of the people who sent all this necessary information to Xi Jinping in order for him to do that. But beyond that, I mean, lots of people do that for Xi Jinping, truth be told. So beyond that, what else has he done for the big boss to earn his trust? I think is a big mystery. But the manifested outcome is that Xi trusts him a great deal, because in 2013 he was promoted to Beijing to be the second in command in his personal office, handling all the flows of data in and out of the desk of Xi Jinping. So that's a very important position. He became the first in command a couple years later. He took control over the entire apparatus that governed Xi Jinping's day-to-day life back in 2017. Now he's a vice premier in charge of cybersecurity. So clearly this guy is trusted. His preference for AI, AGI. So I tweeted this Davos speech, which you also looked at.
This is so funny. So the cope is that the Citizens Electoral Party, the cope that the Australian Citizens Party that they said that they have nothing to do with Larouche anymore. It's amazing. It's so funny. Because it's actually still so hardcore. As the Larouche influence is so hardcore with the Citizens Party, but they try to tell people, no, we have nothing to do with him.
I think it's very revealing, right? So you look at it, you're like, wow. What?
Max, I actually feel sorry for you, because I heard that they made you put so much money into the campaign for your election and stuff like that. Like, Democratic Alliance never asked candidates to put money into their own election.
So what he said was, we need to invest in AI, but we need to do it. We can't go.
Mandy, LaRouche is the L. Ron Hubbard of the Citizens Party.
All out in investing in it without knowing what the brakes are. We have to develop the brakes also at the same time. I think that's extremely revealing. So basically, it's very different from the American approach, because in America, it's all driven by private sector. And of course, all these, except for 1 or 2 companies, everyone just invest, and try to reach AGI as soon as possible. For the Chinese government, they're very afraid that some actor outside, but even inside the party, is going to use it as a tool to usurp the power of the party. So they want to know that they have a way of stopping everything if it comes to it. So for them, developing the brakes is just as important as developing AI itself.
What are the different organizational milestones we should be watching for to understand how they're thinking about AI when things have escalated? So to add more color to this question, what I expect to happen, let's say next year, in terms of raw AI capabilities, we might have computer use agents. So a thing which is not just a chatbot, but can actually do real work for you. You put it loose on your computer, like go through your email and compile your taxes, etc. And then, in 5 years, I expect it to be able to do all white collar work, or most white collar work, which is 40% of the economy potentially. Eventually, we'll have full AGI, even robotics and so forth. As this is happening, how should we be tracking how the party is thinking about what is happening, how seriously they take it, what they should do about it? Should be, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, there was a Politburo study session on AI, but I don't know if there was like AGI AI or what kind of AI they were discussing.
AI, yeah.
Should we be looking for a leading group on AGI in particular? Should we be trying to just read more speeches? What should we be paying attention to?
Thus far, it seems like it's under cybersecurity leading group. So thanks for chatting.
At least Elron made up funny stories to dupe idiots. LaRouche just repackaged Maoism and made it boring. That's actually true. That's actually very funny.
There won't be a group. I don't think so. Because for the party, it's a security aspect of it that's the most important. I mean, there's one aspect where it's like, it'd be great to automate all industrial production. China's doing a good job doing that already. I don't think they need additional infrastructure, sort of governing infrastructure to allow them to do that. But on sort of applying, AGI or AI to governance, to even service sector, generating video content for people, doing, even like travel agency stuff, the party is very, very paranoid that some hostile actor outside of China, certainly they believe that very strongly.
It's so funny because they see Michael Danby as like the great devil of history. All I did was pay for my website and election materials. We must be under Michael Danby's skin. He's dedicated over 25 years of his life. He's a dedicated right-wing Zionist. So true. Lyndon LaRouche, a universal genius.
Lyndon LaRouche, from 1966 to 2019, was a dominant intellectual force in world thought. And the Schiller Institute is engaged in a project to republish his collective.
The Schiller Institute is their like retarded think tank. Viva Danby. Salute Danby. We should actually have him on the Drew Pavlo show. That would be brilliant.
Works, which are very extensive. The following presentation, which was originally produced in June 2019, shortly after his passing, will give you an idea of the reason for that project and the relationship of that project to the international strategic situation that we face today.
Important the idea for my husband, Lyndon Larouche, or you have viewed the video in the meantime. And then you got a taste of what a beautiful mind my husband really had and how important the ideas are for the world today. As a matter of fact, you know,
universal
I would put him
genius
on the same level of thinkers, those thinkers who maybe only have one per century.
I'll give you a 3-minute video, guys. And then we'll go back to the interesting China Xi Jinping thing.
Rumors began swirling last night that American agitator Lyndon Larouche had passed away at age 96. That it was a rumor was fitting, because since the 1960s, Larouche has been a pioneer.
This is not really Mrs. Larouche. There was a Larouche party in Sweden at one point in the past, batshit crazy people. I went to Denmark in 2022, just on holiday, and I saw that they had a fucking Larouche party in Denmark, and I was like, what the fuck? I actually saw, I was in Copenhagen, and I saw just like an election, I just walked past the election posters, and there was one that just, I think it might have been in English, and it was just saying something that sounded really Larouchean, and I was like, could it be? And I think it said Schiller Institute or something like that. And I looked it up and I was like, holy fuck, they've got a Larouche party in fucking Denmark. It's amazing.
Here, the conspiracy theory. Larouche, whose political following bordered on a cult, ran for president 8 times, in between which he served prison time on federal mail fraud charges. His campaigns never had a shot at legitimacy.
Mondale is not simply a KGB agent in the ordinary sense, of course. Mondale is jointly owned by the left wing of the Socialist International and the grain cartel interests.
But they did cement Larouche.
Why is Vice slapping him with the conspiracy theorist dog whistle when he was a Maoist, huh? What was the most crazy shit? I mean, like, to give you an understanding, right, Mitch? He thought that, like, he believed that, like, the British royal family was the biggest drug trafficking cartel in the universe or something like that. Did Denmark have a Lego megalith monorail? A sympathizer of the Larouche party was accused of the assassination of Olaf Palme. Holy shit. I didn't know that. It's such a fucking weird force on world politics. Shouldn't Vice be all for that? I think Vice probably just thought he was an interesting bloke to do a video on. The usual trick is anyone who criticizes Israeli foreign policy is anti-Semitic, despite the fact that it's... Thank you, Max. Thank you.
Bush's role as the definition of the lunatic fringe in American politics.
Bush, a former member of the Satanic...
So this was SNL doing a Larouche thing. Look at this. It's so funny.
Mondale is jointly owned by the left wing of the Socialist International and the grain cartel interests.
But they did cement Larouche's role as the definition of the lunatic fringe.
This is 1988 Saturday Night Live.
In American politics.
Bush, a former member of the Satanic Trilateral Commission, is a known co-conspirator of the homosexual child molester Henry Kissinger.
It's hard.
You know, he actually talked like that about people. It's fucked up. Drew, do you wish you were American? I love Australia. I love Australia. Come on.
Hard to pin down.
I wish I could run for the American presidency, though. It would be so much fun. LaRouche thought the Queen was a personal heroin trafficker, possibly unlikely proposition. I saw a video that said Putin got radicalized by LaRouche's party. Crazy. Surely not. No, surely fucking not. Who said that? I want to watch that. Can you give me a link to that? That's interesting.
Down exactly what LaRouche believed. But
why don't you run for PM? Oh, it's a lot harder in Australia. The party systems are so much. We have closed primary systems in Australia. So, you know, in America, how like literally anybody could just join the Democratic Party and then just try primary their local representative. And also you could do the same with the Republican Party. That's literally what Trump did with the Republicans, right? You can't do that in Australia. You have to get pre-selected by the major parties. And it's almost impossible to get pre-selected by the major parties. You have to recruit like 1,000 people to the major parties. And then in the Labour Party, you have to have, you know, the big unions backing you. It's really, really difficult to get pre-selected in Australia. You don't have an open primary system. Have you heard of the Swedish Kampuchea Friendship Association in relation to Pol Pot? It's crazy. Holy fuck. There's a lot of crazy shit out there. Kampuchea. Beautiful. Swedish Maoist pro-Khmer Rouge Friendship Organization. Dissolved in 1980. Ben-Gvir was involved in the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. I know that. I actually know that. I know Ben-Gvir was involved in the assassination of Rabin. You're talking about Rabin. I can help you grow your Kick channel, reach 15,000 viewers, 75 subs, and earn up to 3,000 per stream. Interested? Add me on Discord, Samuel Expert. Wow. Should we do that, guys? Wow.
It seemed to boil down to the idea of an all-consuming imperialist conspiracy led by the British Crown.
If you have a hunchback and bad breath, you can be endorsed by the Citizens Party as a candidate. So true.
According to Larouche's sprawling theory,
Max, I think you're too good for the Larouche Party, Max. I think you should leave them. Sounds like a good offer, Drew. I think you should take it. Drew, do you wish you were straight? Sweden was a neutral country, friends with a lot of places like...
The Queen is bent on reducing the global population. As part of that dark plot, she orchestrated 9/11 through her...
So LaRouche thought that the Queen did 9/11. What the fuck? Who the fuck thought? Like, how do you come up with that shit? The Queen did 9/11. What the fuck?
Reducing the global population. As part of that dark plot, she orchestrated 9/11 through her Saudi proxies. LaRouche never managed to have an impact on American policy, but his legacy lives on in the generation of semi-messianic conspiracy theorists who seem to have fashioned themselves in his image.
Hey, if we could just get the green movement and the unions and the social justice people together, we could control the world.
People wonder how someone like Alex...
I knew the Queen did 9/11. As soon as the Twin Towers blew up, we knew it was the Queen straight away. Max admits their conspiracy theories about the Queen are nuts. The current policies in Australia are good. Interesting. So you disavow the Queen stuff.
Jones can get away with saying that Sandy Hook never happened.
They had the kids going in circles in and out of the building as a photo op.
But it was LaRouche who proved that if you're emphatic enough, often enough, someone will start to believe you. LaRouche made his 2004 campaign his last. But lately his name has started to filter back into the news.
Here's an insane story about Roger Stone, Lyndon LaRouche, Vladimir Putin, and the Queen of...
The Steele dossier suggested that the Kremlin invited a LaRouche delegation...
Oh, that's what the guy was talking about. The Steele dossier talks about LaRouche and Putin. Fucking hell.
...to Moscow to enlist its help in spreading misinformation in 2016. And LaRouche himself had a friend in Trump world.
I am very familiar with...
What the fuck? Roger Stone liked Lyndon LaRouche? What the hell?
...the extraordinary and prophetic thinking of Lyndon.
Yeah, Alex Jones does make LaRouche look sensible. The LaRouche movement disavowed the Citizens Party about 10 years ago. Is that true, Max? Can you give me a link on that? The Putin LaRouche video was called The American Origins of Putin's Madness. Thank you. I'm going to look that up. That's fascinating. Okay, that's interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, interesting. Max, can you tell us, can you give us information about that? The LaRouche movement disavowed the Citizen Party about 10 years ago. That does not sound true to me. Can you give me a link on that?
The LaRouche movement is now railing against impeaching Trump, in part because of a common enemy. Robert Mueller, the man going after the president, is the same Robert Mueller who, as a young federal prosecutor, put Lyndon LaRouche in...
I didn't know that. What the fuck? The world. I love learning about the world. I didn't know that Robert Mueller put LaRouche in jail. So then the LaRouche movement hates Robert Mueller. Oh my God. I didn't know that. I love learning about the fucking world. I love learning about fucking amazing stuff about the world. Look up the LaRouche Oasis plan for peace between Israel and Palestine. It was developed based on the original Eisenhower proposal. He was a universal genius. He had a plan for Israel-Palestine as well. Fascinating. Love it.
Prison. Under orders from the Queen, of course.
Fuck, LaRouche is amazing, isn't he? The American Origins.
The thing about trying to track down the origin of a conspiracy theory is it's a lot like trying to track down the origin of a river.
LaRouche is the Forrest Gump of nutter politics. We love him, man. We love him. He was nuts, but he wasn't stupid. Thanks, Max. He was definitely a smart guy, wasn't he? It was all LaRouche, always has been. Yup, absolutely. Drew, you should get some girls to sit in the background. Okay, Dodo, thank you, mate. Well, maybe for a stream one time, we'll just literally hire out like a fucking... Yeah, beautiful.
There's so many...
We'll hire out a stripper team for the stream.
And backwaters contributing.
Drew, I have a few friends in DC who worked as aides, and there are whisperings that Trump is going to attempt to cancel midterms that Democrats projected to win. He can't cancel the midterms. He can't cancel them. That's impossible.
To a river, you can never entirely pin down which specific branch can rightly be called the origin. And for those of you who just clicked on this video randomly, you should know that this is the fourth and final video in a series about the war.
Do a stream from a strip club.
So I'm skipping around a lot here over things I covered in earlier videos, which you can watch here. So you'll have to forgive me if I meander a bit. You get it? Meander? Yeah, you know, because it's like a river.
You win. Hot ladies in the background would be super nice. Nobody can keep their attention span anymore. You need Subway Surfers and hot girls in the stream to just watch my 20-person stream.
You should sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut the up. That's what I do.
After 9/11, America launched multiple wars of aggression, created a global...
Larouche bizarre fetishism for certain German classical composers was very weird. I think they play Wagner during the call center shakedowns of all these. I love it. Drew's shirtless hot tub and bikini girl stream. So true. Can the girls be Greek? Okay, mate. Okay. Brilliant.
Global system of enforced disappearance and torture, tore up international law, intentionally pitted Western Europe against Eastern Europe, and massively destabilized the Middle East. I'm not interested in making a comparison between the war in Iraq and the war in Ukraine. What I am interested in is the similarities between America itself, its political culture in those years, and Russia. They bore no responsibility. Color revolution.
Where's the LaRouche part?
Things in the first place. And I think the timing here may be key. I don't think it's a coincidence that a conspiracy theory aiming to explain why all revolutions are fake took off in the 2010s. After all, the 2010s were first and foremost a decade of failed revolutions. Failed revolutions generate two types of people: paranoid reactionaries and disappointed revolutionaries. People eager to make bottom-up...
Actually, good question for Landu. Who's more nuts, LaRouche or Trump? Was LaRouche responsible for COVID? No, the Queen was. Drew, get a Stairmaster and have the girls walk it in the background. I'll troll less and pay more attention. Okay, Dodo.
Political change impossible, and people eager to believe bottom-up change is impossible, as an excuse for their own failures. And the Arab Spring added a third group: guilty bystanders. People think the Iraq War discredited the idea of democracy promotion, but Iraq only discredited the idea of promoting democracy with an aggressive war. The West was still happy to see a move towards democracy when it seemed spontaneous, like in 2011. But sometime between the Benghazi consulate attack and the fall of Mosul, the West lost its nerve, and not unlike Putin, decided the stability of dictatorship might actually be preferable to the chaos of revolution. This meant, in particular, standing by and letting what happens in Syria
What Assad did in Syria is so sick. And LaRouche they all loved Assad.
And as the situation became more horrific, the more people craved a story that would excuse them of responsibility. Around the same time Russia had intervened at Ilovaisk, the Russians also started their intervention in Syria. When that war started, Russia's English-language propaganda also started pushing Putin's pet conspiracy theory that the Arab Spring had really all just been a CIA color revolution. And this theory was perfect for a West that was looking to wash its hands of Syria. If the Arab Spring had been real, not intervening in Syria in the name of stability would be a morally fraught position in which one was possibly sacrificing hundreds of thousands of lives for one's own convenience. If the Arab Spring had all just been a CIA plot, though, well then, opposing intervention in Syria becomes a selfless, brave, even heroic stand against vastly powerful forces. You get to pat yourself on the back for your humanitarianism while you watch a city get blown to bits. But all these
Listen, guys, we've done 3 hours today on the Drew Pavlou Show. We might call it an end now. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. Con, Easy Money, Yusuf, Mitchell Dawes, Yosh. 15:30 is when he talks to LaRouche. Okay, sure. Okay, we'll watch a really quick part on LaRouche, okay?
English faith consistent enough that I can summarize it somewhat. So, get ready. The British royal family and a small cadre of English Fabian socialists, in conjunction with the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, are engaged in a conspiracy to greatly reduce the population of the human race in order to head off...
3 hours is too short. Come on, man. I've only got 20 people watching. I'll do like 10-hour streams when we've got like 1,000 people watching, okay, man?
A Malthusian catastrophe.
a catastrophe that could easily be avoided by simply building a massive amount of nuclear power plants and a number of massive superhighways and bridges to connect all of the world's continents. But doing that would cut into the conspiracy's profits. So the British royal family invented environmentalism and neoliberalism in order to hide the truth. And in order to further reduce the population, the British
Drew, become crazy, and in 3 years we will follow Druism.
royal family is also the world's foremost drug trafficking conspiracy. And it uses its control of the IMF to push austerity in order to kill as many people in the global south as possible. And also, Henry Kissinger is a gay KGB agent.
Facts.
All right,
So
you got
true.
it? That makes sense? Great. Maybe some of that sounded reasonable to you. Well, that's how they get you. Because the Larouche movement is really a cult, not a political party. It hooks in...
Easy money. That's like being a small business owner and saying, I'll work more than 3 hours when I make $1 million. Come on, dude, easy money. Like, I don't have enough people watching the streams to do 10-hour streams a day. I literally can't afford to do it, dude. I literally can't afford to do it. Like, I've got to fucking work half the week to fucking make the bills pay. I can't afford to do 10-hour streaming, dude, when I'm literally making $10 a stream. Come on, man. Be a bit more reasonable here. Like, I'm making about $10 each stream I do. I can't afford to do fucking 10-hour streams every day.
Idealistic young people who like one aspect of the movement, indoctrinates them in the whole insane complex, and makes them work incredibly long hours for free, calling people up and begging them for donations. And so Larouche used all the money he got from the phone call operation and used it every 4 years to run for president.
Mondale is not simply a KGB agent in the ordinary sense, of course. Mondale is jointly owned by the left wing of the Socialist International and the grain cartel interests. If both these owners tell Mondale to lick the floor before a nationwide TV audience, I sincerely believe he would do just that.
Watch Lyndon LaRouche, independent Democrat for president.
Those campaigns brought him to national prominence. And so LaRouche was brought onto mainstream media to explain himself, with hilarious results.
He's run for president 3 times, twice as a Democrat. Each time, he's lost overwhelmingly. But he's not deterred by that.
The Democratic National Committee responded with a 50-state alert aimed at preventing more nominations of LaRouche-backed candidates pretending to be regular Democrats. The LaRouchians, calling themselves the National Democratic Policy Committee, claim to have 800 candidates running in primaries around the country this year.
What are you trying to do? You're running hundreds of candidates all over the country. What is your short-term goal?
I'm concerned with 2 things. I'm concerned with the collapse of Western civilization.
Were you ever a Marxist in your own opinion? Ever?
I don't know.
Yes or no?
I don't know.
Mr. LaRouche, I want to quote you back to yourself.
He was like an orthodox Marxist in his early years, I believe.
To something I read on your stationery, written by you. Quote, according to authoritative sources, Henry A. Kissinger, that's our former Secretary of State, is not a Jew, but a he is a
so mental
species some psychopathologists describe as an extreme anal variety of sado.
What the fuck? He's just laughing as well. Fucking hell.
As an extreme anal variety of sadomasochistic.
By the way, why don't you have TTS or Streamlabs on yet? I got to work out how to do Streamlabs. I still got to work out how to do TTS.
Personality. Has any psychopathologist ever suggested to you that you ought to be locked up?
The rest of it because you think a Soviet attack against Germany is imminent.
It's sufficiently imminent that we have to assume it might occur at any time.
LaRouche says that the Israeli intelligence service is behind all terrorism. Do you believe that?
You say the B'nai B'rith founded the Ku Klux Klan or funded it.
No. You had signs this morning that
so fucking mental.
NBC killed Olof Palme of Sweden. What the hell does that mean?
With us to discuss the 1988 presidential campaign is political nutcase Lyndon LaRouche. Hi, Lyndon.
In America, LaRouche became something of a joke.
Bush, a former member of the Satanic Trilateral Commission, is a known co-conspirator of the homosexual child molester Henry Kissinger.
Bioduplication, nude conspiracies.
Oh, he made it into The Simpsons, guys.
Child molester Henry Kissinger.
Bioduplication, nude conspiracies. Oh my God, Lyndon LaRouche was right.
But around the world, he was building
he made it into The Simpsons.
Another source of power. LaRouche reinvented himself as an intelligence dealer, publishing a weekly magazine that used his intelligence connections to publish stories about what was really going on in the world. And he had real connections. By the early 80s, he was taking meetings with the CIA. But he was also being
The guy who put out this executive intelligence review are crazy, but the subject of Gaddafi and Khomeini in the US
investigated by the FBI. And it didn't take long for the FBI to discover that the LaRouche organization was making fraudulent charges with people's credit card numbers.
Federal agents found what they wanted yesterday in a raid on the headquarters of political extremist Lyndon LaRouche.
Now that LaRouche could no longer live in America, he moved to Germany to live with his second wife, Helga Zepp LaRouche.
Oh my God, amazing. That's why I moved to Germany.
Formed a new organization called the Schiller Institute.
The Schiller Institute.
And formed connections in various European countries, including Russia, a country he had previously been trying to get nude.
The Russians are irrationalists. They're racist. They're Russian racists. Great Russian racists. If you don't believe it, ask a Ukrainian.
He continued publishing his intelligence
So he was pro-Ukraine at a point. Fucking hell.
magazine in Europe, and he picked up a few new writers, the most important of which is F. William Engdahl.
Well, William Engdahl's on the line. He's a geopolitical analyst, author of Myths, Lies, and Oil Wars.
The Greek crisis was programmed to be detonated at command by Wall Street and the U.S. Treasury, as well as the Federal Reserve, in order to defend the reserve currency role of the U.S. dollar.
You probably haven't heard of William Engdahl, but you might have heard of some of the conspiracy theories he's invented. For instance, the theory that Bill Gates is trying to sterilize the human race using vaccines. William Engdahl invented that theory in 2009. But that's not his most important theory. In the 90s, EIR started focusing on a Jewish hedge fund manager named George Soros. This culminated in a feature by Engdahl.
So this is where Putin got it.
About how Soros was secretly using a small network of NGOs to overthrow governments on behalf of the Rothschilds, and that through these NGOs, he had caused all the revolutions of 1989 that had
How much longer does your account look for? I think 4 hours.
overthrown the communist states of Eastern Europe. He did this allegedly in order to introduce shock therapy and destroy them. This theory didn't make much of a splash at the time, and would have been forgotten if not for a movement developing on the American left. Because one small subsection of the left, for reasons that are too complicated to get into here, had become obsessed with proving the innocence of Serbian dictator Slobodan Milosevic. And this section of the left was naturally caught off guard when, after a ham-handed attempt at rigging the 2000 election, Milosevic decided to step down in the face of massive protests, after which he was immediately handed over to The Hague for prosecution, an outcome even his opponents in the West had completely given up on. So this section of the left was naturally distraught and latched onto the theory created by the Larouche movement that George Soros had organized the overthrow of Milosevic, just like he had organized the overthrow of the Eastern European communist governments. But since this was now appearing in left-wing publications, instead of Soros being a tool of the Rothschilds, he became a tool of the CIA. But one of the writers for these left-wing magazines, a Canadian economist named Michel Chossudovsky, decided to create his own publication, probably because other magazines wouldn't publish his 9/11 Truth articles. He quickly hired William Engdahl, along with a raft of other conspiracy theorists, to publish for his think tank, the Center for Research on Globalization, or Global Research for short. And this website would go on to a lucrative partnership with the Russian government.
It's called Global Research,
Amazing.
a website offering audiences a wide range of conspiracy theories, often in line with what experts consider Russian government narratives.
Depicting COVID-19 as a dangerous virus. That's the basis of the fear campaign.
That's Michel Chossudovsky, the website's listed editor.
The retired professor wouldn't answer questions about any links to Russia, but he denied running a
Drew, do you invest? I don't have any money to invest right now. One day we will. One day. Listen, guys. Okay, I think today I will call it a day now. But I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got a really big one. We've got Richard Hanania joining the Drew Pavlou show. That will be powerful. That will be extremely powerful. So I can't wait for that, guys. Make sure to tune in. Tune in when that takes place. I'll see you tomorrow. And God bless you all. Stay humble and keep focused. The fortress of righteousness is rising. What about tracing wood grains? I'll message them and I'll get it done. But again, salute to you all. Thank you for joining the Fortress of Righteousness. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Which episode will Erica LeBon be on? I'll have to ask her. Again, that's another person I want to get on. All right. Anyway, salute, guys. Thank you so much. My heart goes out to you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.